This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, but rocking a beautiful Toronto background behind me because I love Toronto. And here we are, July the 5th, 2025, 3 days before I turn 53. And since my 50th birthday, I have had people interview me for my birthdays, and just something I started doing. Jeffrey Mark did it whenever I turned 50, and he's done a number of tributes on my show for various people he knows. Nancy McLaughlin hit me at 51 from Jason Lives, and last year, fellow podcaster Rob Mahoney. Well, this time we're getting more closer to home because I have somebody that's going to be interviewing me who I come across only because after doing my first uh, convention with Lisa Langlois in 2017, Horrorama, I was like, I wonder if any of the walk around video, I thought, wonder if anybody caught a glimpse of me. Not that year, but the following year when I did Horrorama, I caught one brief glimpse of me, 2018 walk around for Creepy Ghoul Vision. And today I've had him on twice, and now he's interviewing me for my 53rd birthday. Yes, from deepest, darkest Scarborough, we have Creepy Ghoul Ferris. How do you do, Creepy Ghoul? And today you're going to interview me. Oh my.
So over here we have Creepy Ghoul Vision, and I am Creepy Ghoul, your host as always. And over here we have Greg Gilbert, host of Python's Paradise. What a crossover! How the fuck are you?
You know what? Last night I did 5 buildings last night. I work as a cleaner. Not that the government cares, because during the pandemic, you know, it was all about doctors and nurses and fuck us cleaners. Nobody was fighting to give us raises. But I was on the front lines of that thing that whole time. Never got the virus, never got any of that. And I, just watched, as Kevin O'Leary said, the idiot king walk away with a whole lot of money at the taxpayer's expense. But nonetheless, last night I was at my first building. I started at 5, and I had a blueberry yogurt, which I love. I love yogurt, and I had a strawberry milk.
Was it Greek yogurt?
I don't think so. Why? Is the Greek
Mm.
yogurt the best?
Yeah, Greek yogurt's the best, you know what I mean? It's enriched with all those probiotics that you need. But
Oh,
carry
I
on.
love that. I'm going to look into that. But I had a yogurt, and something didn't agree with me. And I ended up going into one of the washrooms and throwing up. And, and when you're about, you're gonna throw up because you can feel it in your saliva.
Hmm.
You just kind of this I don't even know how to describe it. But I throw up, dry heaved like 8 times.
Mm.
Then rather than do what the most of the morons at my former job at the hospital would do and call in sick,
Yep.
I let my supervisor know, and I said I'm still going to do my job. I just might not be totally detailed as usual. Did that building, did a second building, then I did my main one, my main 8-hour one, which my coworker offered to do a majority of my work if I wasn't feeling up to it, but I told her to do her stuff first, and then I'd let
Hmm.
her know.
Hmm.
But I ended up doing some work. Then I did a fourth building, and then an hour down in a fifth building. Now, I gotta say, first off, fuck our local hospital that fired me because I never missed a single day of work there.
That's how
And
it is. That's
yeah,
how it is, my
and
friend.
they had people that would just call in sick because they didn't want to go to work. And
Yep.
here I am working when sick. Here I am, the guy that shows up to work the the night after an operation, on my
Yep.
eye. And I'm like, so fuck that place. I'm still bitter about that. And
Oh,
I've
I can't
I've
say I blame
already
you.
I've already said that if I'm brought into that hospital, I'll sue them. My body, my rules,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, this is just it. I get the same shit at my workplace too. But I mean, and that's just how it is. The cleaners through the pandemic, I know for a fact that just didn't get the recognition that they deserve type of thing when they were the ones, you know what I mean? They were the ones, you know what I mean? But I mean, with regards to that, um, yeah, you know what? I can't say I blame you one bit. I would probably let it go, move on, move forward. I mean, you're doing good at your job right now and whatnot. But it just the best advice I'm going to give you today is next time this could have all been avoided had you'd had Greek yogurt.
Well, I gotta get some Greek yogurt.
You got to get some Greek
What's
yogurt.
your favorite kind of yogurt?
I don't really eat yogurt to be quite honest with you, but I mean, I don't mind yogurt at times, you know what I mean? I like the vanilla ones. I like the ones with the little chocolate in it and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm good with yogurt.
I
I can
like
go either way.
cherry. I like cherry. I like peach, blueberry. I like the whole
Yeah.
schmear. I love yogurt,
Yeah.
Veg
Oikos makes some really good yogurt. You might want to try some Oikos yogurt. It's like one of the best yogurts. Yeah,
hmm
they got a good banana one too, a banana yogurt and vanilla. Their vanilla is good too. But yeah.
There you go.
Hmm.
There you go.
But check it out. Listen, first of all, I want to wish you a very happy early birthday. When is your birthday? Tell everybody when your birthday is.
July 8th, born
July 8th. That's
1972, I was born.
oh, you're close to me. Now I'm November 20th, 1974, so we're not that far apart. So July
hmm
8th, that's what, Tuesday, I believe, right? Am I right about
hmm
that?
Yep.
Tuesday. Excellent. There you go. So I've crafted a bunch of a series of questions that I would love to ask you
Yep.
that I'm sure that your fans of Python's Paradise would like to know, and it helps me to get to know you a little bit better too, and also the viewers of Creepy Ghoul Vision to get to know you as well. And for those of you who are fans and supporters of Creepy Ghoul Vision who don't know who Greg Gilbert, the Python Hyena, is, you need to know who this guy is, man. You need to check out his YouTube channel. I'm telling you right now. If you like horror, check it out. Period. Okay. His podcast is amazing. He interviews a lot of no offense to anybody here, lesser known is the term I'm going to be using. Lesser known, underrated, underdog, forgotten people of film, like mostly in the horror-ish genre type of thing. Um, and I mean, there's no offense there at all because I mean, for those of you who don't know, and I've been told this, that I host one of probably the most underrated YouTube channels on YouTube. Who the fuck knows? Creepy Ghoul Vision focuses around punk rock, metal, horror, goth rock, and everything in between type of thing, and some skateboarding as well, and everything in between. But yeah, you're going to need to check out Python's Paradise, guys. I mean, and I've crafted a series of questions here, no particular order, that I'd like to throw at you. You know what I mean? Let's have some fun with it. You know what I mean? Let's
hmm
have some fun. First of all, I'm looking at your background there, and it's reminiscent of me back in like I say the mid to late 90s into the 2000s. I used to visit that area all the time. That's Harborfront Center right there with the big CN Tower in the back. Looks like a big dick sticking out in the middle there.
Well, they had a
Anyways,
big dick up in it there. Uh, Stephen Dildo, as I'll call him.
uh-huh.
But that was a big dick that was on it, but other than that,
And speaking of which, holy shit, man, what is that on your head? Looks like a fucking condom on your head. What the hell is that?
that's my Randy Savage garb.
Ooh yeah. Should I ask all the questions here in the Randy Savage voice? Hey, there's an idea. But anyhow, let me ask you a question. My first question is, How did you get the name Python Hyena? I have always wondered. I'm shocked that I never asked you this, and I'm sure a lot of your viewers would like to know. Python hyena makes no fucking sense. There's like a python hyena. Like what? Where did that name come from?
Originally, it was just Python, and a lot of people still just call me Python, and I'm fine with that. Here's the thing. Growing up, I was socially awkward, and it led to me being bullied a lot. And I was a bully victim growing up in junior high, elementary, high school. It was not fun. And I remember in my 12th year, I had an opportunity to get my picture taken with a 12-foot Burmese python.
Hmm.
And I made people around me believe that that was my snake in the picture.
Nice.
And when you have a creature that big draped over top of you, you're not afraid of people anymore, you
Nope.
know?
I,
Yeah.
I I hear you, man. I hear you.
But here's the thing. I watched wrestling a lot growing up,
Same
and
here.
I was a
Yeah.
big fan of Jake the Snake Roberts, and I love
Everybody
watching.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that got me into wrestling because I had just before WrestleMania 3, which is an event I don't think has ever been topped, where they had like there's 20 different stickers in the chip bags, and somebody
I
had
remember
one.
that. I
Yeah,
remember those days.
and a person had one of Jake the Snake with Damien, and
Yeah.
I asked about it, and he told me that he's a wrestler and he puts a snake on his opponents, and I was like, I've got to see that,
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to see that, and it kind of led to me being interested in wrestling, which I'm not so much into now, but was then because I think the characters back then were a lot more colorful and a lot more
Yep.
interesting.
Yep.
And Jake with that really cool DDT that nobody's done better.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I always like snakes, and I notice a lot of people, it's a major phobia of people. But here's the thing, like a bully victim, a lot
Hmm.
of people don't understand snakes.
It's true.
And I'll give
It's
you an
true.
example. I read somewhere online, and I found this amazing. They said that snakes kill more pests and rodents
Hmm.
than birds of prey and
Hmm.
cats.
I can believe that. Sure. Yeah.
They're expert hunters.
Hmm.
Some of them have these heat sensor things on their nose,
Hmm.
and they can detect prey from a long miles
They
away.
sure can. Yeah. Yeah. I've had three snakes. I think three
Mhm.
snakes in my life. Ball pythons. So I know this. But carry on.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people, and I've ran into people that kill snakes because they don't understand them.
Yeah.
Resent that. Uh, Even with poisonous snakes, which we don't have here, the
Hmm.
states have 4 different species of poisonous snakes, but here's the thing, even with poisonous snakes don't go out of their way to bite people. They only bite people if the person's invasive on
Yeah.
them or steps on them or
Yeah.
something.
If they're
That's
provoked.
That's why a rattlesnake rings its tail
Yeah.
because it's saying, "Hey, fuck off."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, snakes, especially poisonous snakes, they can't eat a person. The venom has to rejuvenate after it strikes,
Hmm.
so it
Hmm.
does no good
Hmm.
to strike a human being. But a lot of people have these outspoken fears of
Hmm.
snakes,
Hmm.
and so I've always found snakes impressive. You ever see a python kill a crocodile? It's pretty impressive to see, you
I can
know?
imagine. Yeah. I can
Yeah,
imagine.
I've seen those videos, and a lot of times it depends on the size of either one. But anyway, with me, that was where I love the snake because the snake is very misunderstood. And
Hmm.
the python is the longest snake.
Hmm.
Like the reticulated python of Southeast Asia is the
Hmm.
longest at 28 feet on average. They have measured 33. Um, the thickest, of course, is the anaconda of South America. One of the ones I'm most fascinated with, though, is the African rock python, and they're the second longest. And I've seen images of them eating impala.
Huh.
You know what an impala is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of antelope in Africa. I've seen images of them, and people say it can't do that. What about the horns? Well, its saliva breaks all that down. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's very, very interesting with a snake. Now, the hyena part,
Yeah. Yeah.
number one, I find hyenas fascinating just listening to them. Now you watch, the Lion King or whatnot, and they always display them as cowards or whatnot, you know. You know how big a spotted hyena is, they go up above my waist, their back.
I know they're
They're,
pretty big. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're a big animal. Um, they're a pack animal. But here's the thing with hyena, they get the strongest jaw pressure of any mammal.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I heard that they would be raked at home in a sewer because they clean up all the shit that like a lions will kill something and they'll
Hmm.
leave half of it
Hmm.
and it'll be gone by night because hyenas find it and they eat the bone.
I had no idea. Wow,
Oh
I did
yeah,
not know that.
they eat the bone too.
Wow.
The bone marrow. They love the marrow and the
Okay.
bone,
Okay.
but they will eat the whole thing. And here's the thing: hyenas are another animal like the snake looked down upon.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand them. Lion King, for example, great Disney movie, mind you, but still, they display them as these cowardly animals, you know? But hyenas are, number one, they're not a cowardly animal,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
like one-on-one, a spotted hyena can take out a wildebeest. Not a
Hmm.
Cape buffalo, mind you, but a wildebeest, yes. But
Yeah.
but one-on-one against a lion, it's not going to win. But
Hmm.
lions also hunting prides as well. So
Well,
anyway,
I'm kind of putting the two and two together here. Python, hyena. I'm
mhm.
getting it now. I'm totally getting it here. Yeah.
So I kind of
Yeah.
like it's two animals that are grossly um uh what word am I looking for? Misunderstood.
Right.
And a lot
Right.
of people don't like them for but they don't want to know why these
Hmm. Hmm.
animals benefit. You see,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Snakes, as I mentioned, kill and eat more pests and rodents
Hmm.
than birds of prey and cats.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what? That's a big thing against the rat population. Nobody wants
Oh.
rodents and rats crawling around their space.
Oh, and speaking of which, too, I don't know if you've heard the recent news that Toronto was voted I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the third worst city in Canada for rats. I believe it was the third.
Well,
Yeah.
then they best invest in some snakes then.
Yeah, seriously, eh?
Get less of
Seriously.
those fucking meth addicts and
Yeah.
pro-Palestine idiots, but get them out of there and bring in more snakes.
Get
There
more
you
snakes.
go. Yeah,
It's funny. I made a lot of snake lovers at my parties I used to have because I used to have like a big ball python
yeah.
named Mickey, and I used to bring him out at the parties and stuff like that, and a lot of the reactions was like, "Oh, oh, oh, oh!" I'm like, no, relax,
Ball
relax.
pythons are said to be a really
Yeah,
great starter snake.
yeah.
That or a king snake or a corn snake or a rat snake.
Corn snake, they're very
Yep,
docile and whatnot. I
yep,
made a lot of snake lovers. I tell you that right now. A lot of people, you're right. The python, they're misunderstood, most
yep.
definitely. you know.
But boy, what a powerful, powerful snake.
Oh
But
yeah, very,
I've had
very.
my hands on them. They feel like leather, you know.
Oh, they
People
do.
say, "Oh, they're
They do.
slimy." No, they're not
Oh, they're not
slimy.
slimy. They're not.
No, they feel beautiful. And it's interesting because when I had my picture taken with that Burmese python in my 12th grade, I had to hold that snake's head in the photo with me because he kept trying to crawl back into his cage.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
he wasn't initiating any threat, you know.
yeah.
And same with and what I was going to say about the hyena, like they kill more pests and rodents than snakes does. Hyenas help the environment as well because they clean up all of it. Remember I said about the sewer? They
Hmm.
because they got stomachs like cast iron.
I had no idea about that.
Oh
Let me
yeah.
tell you. But yeah,
Well, they can kill live prey, but if they can find a fresh kill that lions just kind of left, I know somebody, a family that went to Africa on a safari, and they came across a lion kill. They were eating, I think, a zebra,
hmm,
and they said, "We'll come back tonight, and I guarantee you that'll be gone." Because said the hyenas will be here,
hmm.
and sure enough, they come back there, and I think not a bone in sight.
Wow,
Yeah. So hyenas
interesting.
clean that up, and it helps the environment because you don't have all that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hyenas are a great animal. And when I went to Toronto, well, the last few times I went to the Toronto Zoo and I got
yeah.
to
You
see the
mentioned.
spotted hyena there. It's just nice to look at that creature, you know, and
Yeah.
beautiful coat on it and what a personality they have, you know.
Well, so that's it. I mean, protesters out, hyenas and pythons in to Toronto. Yay! Thank you very much, Marlon Perkins, for that lesson.
Well, I like African wildlife in general because I just find African wildlife in general is just so many diverse animals, you
Yeah.
know, so many interesting animals. And I've learned a lot from some of these animals. Like, I don't want to get into politics here, but dealing with uh, some people that have voted certain ways, they're bullies. And it kind of reminds me of a video I saw. Like I'm pretty much being told if I see posts about hating on straight white men, which I am, I'm supposed to just lay down and take it. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not fucking laying down and taking it. It reminds me of a video I saw. It was a couple safari hunters,
Hmm.
and they had some bushmen with them that were trackers, and they were following a trail of blood.
Hmm.
One of the hunters had shot a leopard,
Hmm.
and they could hear the leopard. It was wounded,
Yeah.
and they were kind of walking and they were following the blood patch. Finally, out of nowhere, the leopard springs out, and he doesn't go after any of the trackers. It goes after the hunter that shot him, and he starts mauling the hunter.
Yep.
The hunter lived while the trackers killed it because I think the leopard was pretty much, going to go out anyway. But he wasn't going to go out without teaching this guy a lesson. Well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of where I am, you know. A lot of
Hmm.
people taking these fucking shots at me because
Hmm.
that seems to be what we do now. Rather than improve our lives, let's just go back and create all new problems because that's what our fucking society is today.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Well, I didn't open the floor to a political discussion
nope,
yet. Yet.
but
But
like the leopard, I've had to quote maul a few times
yeah,
in getting my point across. Not physically maul, but you get the point.
I do get
I
the
don't
point.
I don't take it. This is why when I hear people say to me, "Don't go to Toronto, it's so crime related, blah blah blah," and then you see videos of me walking through the street. Why? Because like the leopard or like the hyena or whatever, you know, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. So, and I had,
Mm.
But we got that kind of shit here, you know? You know how
Yeah.
many times I clean up meth needles at work?
Oh, I know you've told me in the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Cops don't deal with it.
well, thank you, Marlon Perkins.
Hmm.
You are watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Now back to our regular scheduled program. I was trying to say that with a straight face, but I couldn't. So that explains Python's paradise. I get it. Now I get it. Now let me ask you. I know that you're a huge Masters of the Universe fan and an LGN sorry, LJN, or is it L no, it's LJN.
LJN, yeah.
LJN wrestling figure collector and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit more about that because I'm a collector myself, right? And I love Masters of the Universe. I grew up, I had all the toys and even the rubber wrestling figures, the LJN wrestling. My first one was Greg the Hammer Valentine. My aunt had got me at
I've
I think
got that.
At Byway, I think she got it or something like that. You know, I had Junkyard Dog,
Got him.
Corporal Kirshner.
Got him, like three of
Um,
them.
I can go on forever, but tell me about this obsession with Masters of the Universe and LGN action figures, wrestling figures. Tell me about it.
You know what's funny? You get these phases when you're a kid,
Yeah.
you know? Um, I remember we used to have drive-ins here. We had two or three drive-ins here in Fredericton. And I remember the first film I saw at the drive-in. I was 5 years old. We saw Pete's Dragon.
Oh yeah, Pete's
And
Dragon. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember some of the films we saw at the drive-in. And among those were the original Star Wars trilogy. We saw the Star Wars trilogy at the drive-in, and I remember one of my favorite Christmases. We got my older brother and I got two brothers, a younger and older, closest to my youngest, but we got this big case of about 20 figures Christmas, you know, and I always liked action figures. And eventually, you know, we grew out of the Star Wars phase and it was Masters of the Universe. And I remember it well. Every time, you know, your parents take you to town, you want to get a toy, you know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's with me, it was like pulling teeth, but
I'm
we
telling you,
were,
me too.
yeah, and we went somewhere. I think it was at the time Woolco at the time. It's
Yeah, it
now
was
Walmart,
probably would
but
have been Wolco. Yeah.
yeah. And we went up there, and I was looking for a toy to buy, and I came across the Masters of the Universe. And I didn't know anything about them, but they just looked like cool figures. And I looked on the back of the packages. You had about eight figures on there. And I remember all eight. You had He-Man, Tila, Man-at-Arms,
The first
uh,
wave. Yep.
Skeletor, Stratos, Zodak, Merman, and Beastman. And my favorite color is green.
Mhm.
So I took
Mine
one look
too.
up. Yeah, huh?
Mine too. Green and
I
black are my
love
favorite
green.
colors. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, is there a merman here? And there was only one merman, and I grabbed him. So, and that led to a whole lot of collecting Masters of the Universe. Now, those toys, like toys today, are much better put together because Masters of the Universe, they had these little stumps under their arm, and if they
Yeah, I
break, you know,
remember.
or they had the rubber under the legs, and that would
Yep.
wear, and
Yeah.
they were, yeah, not very the most well assembled toys. Now they got better articulation. Like they come out with this new wave called Origin figures.
I know them. Yeah, yeah.
And I just discovered those in Toys R Us one day because funny toys are supposed to be for kids, but toys have been so synonymous with
Mhm.
collectors that
Yeah,
you find more adults in toy stores now.
I think so. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think so.
But as part
Definitely.
of that, some people say it's immature. I call it going back to your creative self.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the last few times I've been into the local Toys R Us over here, um, in the toy section, there have been only adults. I
Hmm.
mean, whether they be buying the toys for their kids or what, I don't know, but I've rarely seen kids in the actual toy section, in the action figure section, and whatnot. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, carry on, please.
So I like the origin figures, and of course
They are nice. Yeah,
I waited until I found Merman. He was my first grab. Um, kind of a rite of passage. I always liked Merman, the Ocean Warlord,
yeah,
but they have better articulation. Instead of going like
yeah.
this, you can now go like this,
I
and
know.
their
Yeah,
elbows move and their wrists move.
yep.
And they made it look just like the old figures, except the articulation is,
Articulation. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I've noticed. I think I have a couple in the Origins series there. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know. Yeah.
So, and I'm one of these people, like, if I find them, I'll get them.
Hmm.
If I've ordered a few online, but only when the price comes down. I just got Trapjaw this week.
Oh, Trapjaw. Yeah, I remember
Holy fuck,
Trapjaw.
he was always fun because you could stick these three different weapons in his
Yeah,
arm,
I remember him.
and I got him, he's still in his package, but um I got the Origins figure. Now, that Origins figure was 60 or $70 on Amazon.
Hmm.
It come down to 40 something. And
Yes,
then most recently it come down to, I think, 36.
I
I was
believe
gonna
you.
I was gonna wait for it to come down beneath 30, but it said underneath in red lettering, I think something like only two or three left. So
Right, right, right.
I'm fucking grabbing this now.
Yeah, see, this is the thing people don't know about Amazon, okay? And I've mentioned it a few times on my channel in some of my videos as well. Like, my motto as a collector, and this should be everybody's motto as a collector, if you're willing to wait, it'll come around, okay? And I've lived by that. Everything I've ever wanted has come around, right? That's the thing. Now, here's the thing with Amazon, put things in your wish list. Yes, put things in your wish list. Monitor your wish list. I look at my Amazon every single day, like I look at my bank account every single day, like I look at my MasterCard every single day, because you never know, right? When
Hmm.
there's going to be like fraud or whatever, right? Anyhow, um, when you have items in your Amazon wish list, right? You're going to see the algorithm go up and down, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. You'll see it. And then when it's at the lowest price, that's, like feasible type of thing, then pull the trigger on it. Um, a lot of people don't know this. They just Scare Glow, Masters of the Universe, $70. Buy whatever. Me, I would put Scare Glow in my Amazon wish list because I'm in no rush for them. And I would wait days, weeks, maybe even a couple months, see the price fluctuate. And when the price is at a certain point where I'm like, you know what, that makes sense to me, I'll pull the trigger. A lot of people don't know this about Amazon. Wait for that algorithm.
Yep.
That's the thing. You'll get the best price.
Well,
I'm
that's how
telling
I
you.
got in a few of my Masters of the Universe. Man at
Yeah,
Arms
yeah.
was up over 60 or $70. I got him at
I
$23,
believe you. I
you
believe
know?
you. Yeah,
Uh,
that's Amazon for you. That's
yeah,
Amazon. It's all about the algorithm, people.
yep.
There you go.
I got a Castle Grayskull there, which I
Yeah.
got at Walmart. But I mean, Snake Mountain is extremely pricey.
Hmm.
It has to come down for me to get it, but I got a whole lot of the figures over there and the boxes and whatnot, and one of those plastic tubs
Hmm.
and but yeah, I always wait for them to come down, and I have Mantena, who's my favorite of the
Ah,
boards.
yeah,
He
yeah.
was another one that up over $70. I got him for under 20, or not
He
under 20, under 30.
He's the one with the wider face, am I right? The
Hmm.
like the pointy and wide, like
Yeah,
yeah,
and the
I
eyes would
remember.
come out.
Yes, yes, I remember him. When you come down to Toronto next, I'd love to take you to this place, close to my place actually, called Tree House Collectibles. I'm telling you
Okay.
right now, it's just what we're talking about right now. Yeah, Treehouse Collectibles. You're gonna
Yeah.
love it. You're gonna love it.
So
Masters of the Universe.
I've got a lot of those, and there's some I don't have, like I don't have Tila yet. I'd love to get Tila,
Wait a minute.
but
You don't have Tila. Which version of Tila are we talking here?
good question.
Yeah,
Because I've got like two different versions of the sorceress. I got her all white, and
yeah.
I got her with the signature blue and orange wings.
Now, do you have an original Tila from the 80s?
I did.
What happened to it?
What happens to any of your toys when you
Yeah,
grow up?
exactly.
I,
Exactly.
I wonder, what happened to all my Star Wars figures back in the day? What happened to all of this back in the day?
You and me
What
both.
happened?
Yeah, I know. I wonder where all my shit went too. I wonder.
You
I've
know.
often wondered.
But I
No,
mean,
I hear you.
I've got all these collectors and stuff, and it's kind of it's nice to have them, and I've got a lot of them. I've got a huge collection of them. But there's some don't have, but like I said, it's when the price is right, I'll grab them.
I'm shocked you don't have a Tila.
I don't have a Tila. No, I
Wow.
don't.
Okay, so let's move on to see the
Well,
LJN wrestling figures. Tell me
I
about
have
those.
um I
What is the
rem
fascination? Because I know you have a lot of them.
I've actually got a lot of the Jax figures.
Jack specific.
Yeah, Jax specific. I've
They
got
were
a
about
ton.
they were about this big,
Yep,
right? Or something like that. Yeah, in the beginning, I have a bunch of those as well. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
I got a bunch of those. In fact, I must have over 100 of them, in
Wow.
those plastic tubs here. And those ones are not in their packages. Those ones are out.
Mine
But
are out too. Yeah.
yeah, and I've got so many of those. But I think I was at a flea market one day years ago, and I found three of them. I found Bruno Sammartino, who I think is the greatest champion ever. I found Andre the Giant with the long hair, and I found a Corporal
Oh.
Kirshner, which I now have three of. And I couldn't help but grab them. I was like, go grab these. They're just so cool. You know, um, you could throw those down flight stairs. You're not going to hurt them.
A lot of those figures are worth a fortune in today's collector's market. I'm telling you, man.
Well, what
I
happened?
you know.
Yeah, well, what happened was somebody at the flea market had contacted me, and he said, "I've got a box of about 30 or so of those. So if you want to go down and check them out, I'll make you a deal on them."
Yeah, yeah.
And I bought the whole box off them. This must be about 10, 15 years ago now.
Nice.
But anyway, I there was so many in that box. But I started getting them when they're at cons as well. I
You
actually, when
you
I
find
was
them a
at,
lot at the conventions, yeah.
yeah, well, I bought a ton of them I think it was the one time I was at or not Fan Expo, Toronto Comic Con. I must have bought about 12 of them. And so they were in great condition.
Yeah.
So, and I just grabbed a bunch of them. And, but it's funny. It's hard to find them with accessories. I've got four Terry Funks. I finally got one with a hat. No
Yeah.
branding iron yet. I
Yeah.
When I was at Frightmare in the Falls, I think last time I got Terry Funk with a hat. I was like, okay, now I just need to get a fifth one, the branding iron. But I found Jake the Snake with Damien. So now I got two Jake the Snakes, but I got him with Damien. I was like, yes. So I grabbed that.
Why not?
Yeah. When I was at Chiller in New Jersey, I must have grabbed half a dozen or so of them. And I found for the first time, never seen him before, I knew he existed, I found Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
That's a hard one to get. That one doesn't come around often, and I know that.
Well, I grabbed him. He was there, and I grabbed him. And anyway, I just remember the story too when I was coming back from New Jersey into Canada. My bag was going through the thing, and the security said, "Sir, do you have little people in your bag?" And I knew what he was referring to.
Little
So
people.
I told him, I said, open it up. So he opens it up, and there's these LGNs there, and he picks up Jesse the Body Ventura with his
Yeah,
pose.
yeah,
He
yeah,
picks up Jimmy Snuka,
yeah.
and we get talking. I said, well, you might want to be careful with this one. I said he was suspected of murder.
You try saying that now, ice would be on your ass.
You know what? I really want to do Chiller again, but um, some people say it's blown out of proportion in the media, people being detained at the border and stuff. And some people are saying it's happening, but I'm not
Yeah,
hearing from anybody that actually experienced it. So I'm wondering how
yeah.
relevant it is.
Well, here's the thing. What I heard is that it's like a lottery now. So they're doing every sixth person, then eight, then 12. I don't know how much truth there is in that, but they're treating it like a lottery type of thing, right? Like this one New York City police officer, he was traveling, a U.S. citizen, and he has two cell phones, one personal cell phone, one police cell phone. He was asked to give them both up. He gave up his personal cell phone. He refused to give up the police cell phone. They locked him in a fucking holding cell for like 16 hours, apparently. Crazy stuff, man.
You see,
Crazy stuff,
I couldn't deal with that.
you know?
Yeah, I couldn't deal with that. It's like leave me the fuck alone and ask me your questions. And you want to search my luggage and stuff, fine. I'm not putting up with bullying. I mean, we had a situation. Again, I'm gonna go after our liberal government on this one because Justin Trudeau was a piece of shit, and I don't mind saying it, fucker. But the immigration minister, another asshole, he wasn't vetting people coming in. So here I want to move to Toronto. And then I'm hearing stories on the independent media I listen to because I don't trust CBC to throw, as far as I can throw them up one hand across an 8-lane highway
Mhm.
because they weren't going to cover this, of course. So I'm hearing multiple stories about two people that were arrested in Toronto that were planning a terrorist attack.
Hmm.
And Pierre Poilievre talked about this. There was a father and son, and the father, there was a video of him in wherever foreign country he was from, executing some guy with a machete or something like that on a
Hmm.
cross.
Hmm. Wow.
And yet he got into this fucking country
Yeah.
because if you say anything, you're called a racist. Like
Yeah.
fuck off with that.
Yeah.
It's like it's so that's a big excuse. Oh, you're racist if you say something. Yeah, but if somebody friggin' blows a building up or something like that, oh, let's cover up this, cover up that. Don't get me started on the Carmelo Anthony situation in the States.
Hmm. Hmm.
This kid stabs this white kid, and
Yeah.
they're forming all these friggin' I mean, even
Yeah.
people, African Americans, were like, this ain't right.
Right.
But
Right.
they're doing GoFundMe, and these people don't care. They just want a virtue signal. I get tired of that, you know, and I get tired of some of the fucking policies going on. I'd love to do Chiller again, but I would like to do it harassment free. Ask me your questions.
Yeah.
When I went the first time with Lisa, I waited like like an hour in the immigration line, which was a pain in the ass. But
Yep.
I get up to the guy, and he says to me, he says, "What's your business?" And I told him I was going to do Chiller, and he looked it up on the computer and said, "This, yeah, yeah." And I told him what I was going to do there, and that I was there with to assist Lisa Langlois. And he looked her up, and he says, "Her?" I said, "Yeah, she's a friend of mine." He
Oh,
couldn't wrap his mind around that I wasn't making money at this event.
right, right, right.
And he says, you're just doing this because you're a friend of hers?" And I said, "Yeah." So finally, I said to him, I said, "You know what I do for a living?" He said, "Yeah, please." And I said, "Last night, 5 o'clock, I started cleaning my first of three buildings.
Hmm.
I got done this morning at 6 a.m.
Hmm.
I went home, fed my cat, grabbed my luggage, went to my brother's to drop my car off and my apartment key so he could feed Skittles, and went to the airport, went from Fredericton to Toronto, from Toronto to Newark, and now I'm here." And he looks at me and he goes, "Okay, you can go."
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you something. No, what I would love to see is a match between all the terrorists versus ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. How about that, eh? Terrorists
Well,
versus ECW, huh? Tell,
how about this? How about this?
yeah.
How about this? Forget ECW. Let's the terrorists versus, and let's play fantasy here, against the toughest legit wrestlers in the business, like Haku, Harley Race, Dr. Death Steve Williams, Bruiser Brody. These guys were legitimately fucking tough.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I do agree with you
I
there.
just had Bruiser Brody's widow on here, and talked about him, but the stories I hear, it's funny, Shawn Michaels got his ass handed to him by a Marine. Haku won that battle with a Marine. Different situation. Different. And Haku lost more than he won.
Hmm.
But we're going by predetermined.
Hmm.
An actual fight different story. Like I had somebody who was arguing with me online saying Harley Race could never beat Hulk Hogan in a real fight. Hulk Hogan's all cut up and all muscle. Harley Race is fat and this and that. And I said, "Really? Have you not heard any of the Harley Race stories?" He was one of the first, if not the first, to body slam Andre the Giant, and he did it without the steroids.
Hmm.
And he was one of two people, the other being Haku, that Andre the Giant was afraid of.
Hmm. I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Yep.
I did
Now,
not know that.
Andre never had any beef with them. So, but Harley Race could legitimately hurt you. Don't look at the size of somebody's arm and make decisions like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. When I think of ECW, I can't think of anybody more badass than Terry Funk.
yeah. I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah,
Terry Funk. And I watch a
yeah.
lot of his stuff in New Japan. And he and Dory Funk Jr., I think, are one of the most underrated tag teams ever.
I think in the early WWF days, they really misused Terry Funk. Remember
Yep.
those matches? With Dory, tag team. They really misused Funk in
Yep.
comparison to say ECW. Holy shit, man!
Yep. If I was a wrestler, I'd want to be like Terry Funk, because Terry Funk, he could lose a match and he'd still be the one you're talking about at the end of it.
Yeah.
Like these matches he did, especially in Japan. My brother and I watch a lot of New Japan, like old New Japan matches, and they did a lot of hardcore stuff. But Terry Funk once said, "You might not think wrestling is real. You might not believe what's happening in wrestling, but you sure as hell will believe me."
He was the
And
real deal, man.
yep,
Funk was the real deal,
yep.
you know?
So Terry was one of the best, I think. Vince McMahon didn't know his ass from last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did this, he did that, he did this, and he did that. But he was trying to showcase something that I don't even think was wrestling. Because there's no universe where you're going to convince me that Hulk Hogan's a better wrestler than Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
well,
But
before we,
I got a lot of the LJNs, and there's even companies making new ones.
oh,
Ra
really?
Random Treasures on Etsy are making them.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, they're you can get them unpainted or you can get them painted.
Oh,
They're
interesting.
pricey
Yeah, because they're
because
custom.
yeah, well, I got Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig as an LJN,
Oh, nice.
but they've done a lot of them. I'd like to order more, and I plan to. But I think Princess Victoria, when I had her on, told me about this.
Hmm.
I had her, I got Kurt Hennig, but they've done a lot of them. But also a company called Big Rubber Guys. Yeah, they're making them. And I know they got Bruiser Brody coming out this fall.
Bruiser Brody, really? Wow.
Yeah, because I was talking to his widow about that. Yeah. So they
They
got
should
them.
do an Abdullah the Butcher.
They have.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah, Random Treasures and Etsy has done Abdullah
wicked,
the Butchers. Yeah.
wicked. And
He's,
even Sabu.
you know that Abdullah the Butcher, fuck, he's 84 years old.
Yeah.
Most wrestlers that big and their size don't live that
Don't,
old.
I was about to
Fuck,
say, yeah, yeah. I'm surprised he's even still
eight-
alive, man. But wow.
84 years old. Shit, man. Yeah.
But so before we get to the next question, here, I'm going to showcase this right here. This right here, I've showcased in one of my last YouTube
Yeah, I
videos.
saw that. The
Yeah,
Road Warriors.
yeah, this was the very first ever wrestling mag I ever bought back in the day, 1986, August 1986, right here. I bought with my own money, my own allowance out of my own pocket right here. There it
Hmm.
is right there. And this was way back in the day. And like I said, I found this on eBay from a seller in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I paid like next to nothing for this, including shipping. I think I paid, honestly, with everything, like $12. I was so happy to get my hands on this mint condition mag from back in the day, man.
So who does Animal have hold of there?
He's got I don't really know. That looks like Magnum Terry Allen, to be quite honest with you, but I could be wrong. Yeah,
Okay,
Magnum TA,
there
but
you go.
I could be wrong. But anyhow, I have it right here. It's sealed in plastic. A piece of history right here, nostalgia right here. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Okay, so check this out. Let's get to know Greg Gilbert, the Python Hyena. Favorite food?
You know what's funny? When I was young, if you was to ask me that when I was young, I would have said pizza. And I do love pizza, and I am one of those people that likes pineapple on his pizza.
Here, here.
I
I had I
love
had
pineapple on
I
my
had
pizza.
pizza. I had pizza for dinner tonight, actually, on the way home from work. I stopped off at Little Caesars, got my
Yeah.
usual. My usual is a medium meat lovers with an order of hot wings, and I had that just
Oh
before coming on
yeah,
to our
the
interview.
two hands.
No, I'm a one-handed wing eater. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, favorite food. Favorite
Well,
food.
when I was young, it would have been pizza. Now, if I had choice of anything, if I had to pick my last meal, it would be fruit salad with yogurt.
Are you fucking serious?
Hmm.
You've got to be kidding, man.
I love yogurt and I love fruit. If I have fruit salad like pineapple, uh, grapes, strawberry, watermelon, honeydew, cantaloupe, you name it, I could bask in that all day. I
Holy
love it.
crap, that was not what I expected at all, but that's
Oh
okay.
yeah, I
That's okay.
love it. I
You
love
know what I
it.
mean?
Yeah,
You know,
I do like
wow.
fruit, but it's awful expensive to buy, and they
Wow.
don't keep as well. Um, but I do love fruit salad, and Fruit salad and yogurt. Like when I see like if I'm at a party and they have like a fruit dish out with the yogurt, fucking forget mingling. I'm gonna be at that table just dining on that. Oh yeah.
Wow, isn't that something, eh?
Yeah,
Wow.
I love fruit salad.
Okay, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I
Mhm.
won't judge. Fair enough.
No, no, no,
Um,
no judgment. I just um that's I don't get to have it as much as I would like because getting a fruit tray now is like half your paycheck.
oh, I know. I've looked at them at Walmart and stuff like that. I do like a good fruit tray as well, and a good veggie tray in particular. I lean more towards the veggie trays, but
I wish I
I
did
know
more
they're pricey.
veggies. I wish I did more veggies. I do get the baby carrots and I have them because I love carrots.
Yeah, yeah,
Celery I like, but doesn't keep as long. And I like pepper, whether it's green, yellow, orange, red, whatever. I love pepper.
yeah.
But I wish I eat more vegetables than I do.
Me too. Me too.
But it fine, like getting stuff that will keep a while, because
Yeah.
when I get home from work, I go to sleep. I don't do a lot of meals here.
Hmm.
And when I do grab something, like I can put the baby carrots in a bowl and put some salad dressing on it and just come here in front of the laptop and just eat the carrots.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not much of a cook, but yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, so let's go to cocktail of choice. I'm having
Since
I'm having some Grants right now, some nice Scottish whiskey right here.
Mhm.
What would your cocktail of choice be?
You know what? Before 1998, if you was to ask me that, I'd say, don't know. I don't drink. Even
Ah,
when I went to the clubs, I would get a pineapple juice.
okay.
However, and I don't drink this a lot, but I do when
Yeah,
I'm in Toronto.
yeah.
After the Big Lebowski,
Ah,
I do have White Russians.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
White Russians. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
because that was the dude's choice of drink.
Yes, that's
Um,
right. That's right.
I got to show Lisa Langlois the Big Lebowski, and she loved it. And I remember she and I went to dinner one night, and Lisa ordered I think white wine or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the menu. I don't remember the restaurant that we was at, but I said, I don't know what to have to drink. And Lisa goes, well, you like that movie, The Big Lebowski. Why don't you have a White Russian? And I looked at the server. I said, can you do that? She goes, yeah. And I said, the dude abides. I saw
Nice,
that
nice.
movie in the theater when it originally came out. It's
Yeah.
my favorite Coen Brothers movie.
I think I saw it in the theater too. I have the DVD over right there on my shelf. Yeah, great film. Cult. Very cult.
Well,
You
it's
know what I mean?
funny because 1998, um, I think the highest grossing film was some joke called Armageddon.
Ah, yes,
That
Armageddon.
that and
Yeah.
Deep Impact were kind of the same thing. And it released Godzilla, which was god awful.
Oh,
And
I remember that.
a
Yeah.
lot of shit came out that year. But three movies that come out that year that didn't have a lot of traction. Big Lebowski, it did more than break even. It didn't flop. But The Big Lebowski, Dark City, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas
Yeah,
are
Fear and
three
Loathing. Yeah.
that bombed when it came out. I saw that in the theater. I have since seen it at a packed midnight screening. You know, it's interesting, when people look back, because a lot of people go to movies at the theater based on hype. And I try to avoid that if I can. But Dark City was amazing.
Yeah.
I liked it more than The Crow, and it was from the same director.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
The Big Lebowski is my favorite Coen movie. I interviewed the guy that was beating on the vehicle.
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
him on the
yeah.
show,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, from The Big Lebowski, and I've had a couple people from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas on here too.
Fear and
And
Loathing, Fear and Loathing, I didn't mind at all. I thought that was a pretty cool film.
mhm,
It's a very underrated film actually, and I know it didn't
love it.
do very well when it was released and whatnot, and it gained its popularity later, much later. For some strange reason, it did. But yeah, no, go on.
Yeah, I love that movie. And you get a lot of movies that will say they're set at a different certain time. Like Wonder Woman 84, for example, I never got the sense that it was in 1984. There was
Me neither.
nothing about it. Whereas Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas or Boogie Nights, for example, they look like the 70s.
Yeah, I agree. I
And
agree.
it takes some skill to do that.
Of course it does. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
You got to
Well,
make people. Another one, Everybody Wants Some, which is my favorite Richard Linklater movie. Saw that 9 times in the theater,
mhm,
and it's called the spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. It's not a sequel because it's not the
mhm.
same character, but Dazed and Confused was set in 1976.
And it was quite convincing
Yep.
at times. It was.
Oh, it
Yeah,
was very convincing, but
yeah.
Everybody Wants Some is set in that last weekend before college in 1980.
Hmm.
And I kept going back.
Hmm.
I love the characters, but boy, oh boy, that soundtrack,
Mm,
that soundtrack.
hmm.
Starting with My Sharona when the guy's on his
Hmm.
road trip to get there,
Hmm.
ending with Good Times Roll by the Cars.
Yeah.
Like so much great music and the characters were great, but it kept making me go back.
Hmm. Hmm.
It takes some skill to do that, and it's sad when it fails. You know, you got to do more than play music from the era. You got to you got to put an effort into uh you got to put effort into convincing me that we're there. Because the
Sure.
whole thing about watching a movie
Hmm.
is transcending
Hmm.
disbelief, you know?
Oh, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it brings me to my next question. What are your top three favorite films of all time? What would you say? Funny enough, while you think about that, I'm not a pot smoker. Okay.
Hmm.
One of my top three favorite comedies of all time is Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke.
Did you see my interview with Wally Wharton?
No, I didn't actually, but I'd like to. Yeah,
Holy fuck, she is a laugh riot.
I bet.
Oh my friggin' goodness, is she fun to talk to? My, she is fun to
Yeah.
talk to.
I'm gonna check out that interview. I will. But
She
what
is
are
a laugh riot.
your top three favorite films of all time? My number one favorite horror film of all time would be Halloween 1978. What are your top three favorite films of all time of any genre? Top three. What would they be? What? What is it? What?
You know what? Hmm, that is a hard one.
Hmm.
Uh,
I
Saturday
knew
Night
it would be.
Saturday Night Fever would be up there.
Saturday Night Fever. Wow. Okay.
I can relate to that, and it's a film that's influenced me in a big way. Um, Bookmark this thought, but Saturday Night Fever, like I suffered with self-esteem issues growing up,
Hmm.
and I couldn't get a girlfriend. I've still never had a girlfriend, and quite frankly, now I don't care. Maybe it's because of this film,
Hmm.
but I'd go to the clubs, nobody would be around me, and because of the way I dressed or whatever. Here's the deal. There's that scene in Saturday Night Fever. John Travolta's going down the street to Staying Alive. He's got the paint can in his hand. He's dressed in a black leather jacket, black pants, and he's got the red shirt on, and every girl that passes him is interested in him. And I was walking down the Regent Mall one day, and this was probably 20 years ago now, and I walked past Tip Top Tailors and
Tip
I
top
saw the
tailors.
red
Yeah.
shirt. I saw the
Yeah.
red shirt and I knew what I had to do. I now have shirts, dress shirts of every color. I got two black blazers and one silver blazer. It changed it changed the way I feel about myself
Really?
to the point where I don't give a fuck whether I ever meet a girl or not. And I owe it to Saturday Night Fever as being one of those
Wow.
movies that did that because Travolta's Tony Manero was definitely a flawed individual. But I love that movie. It's one I can definitely watch anytime. Another one that would go on that list is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Ah, yes, Fast Times. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I love that
Okay.
movie. Love that movie.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
for
what in particular do you like about that film? Just out of curiosity.
everything,
Yeah.
everything.
I
The
love the film too, but
I
yes.
mean, like I said about Everybody Wants Some, when it starts out with My Sharona, this one here starts out with the Go-Go's and we got the beat. You got that nice long tracking shot of Damone going in the mall and you're just going along with him and they're showing all the stuff going on in the mall and of course, Jennifer Jason Leigh and Phoebe Cates look stunning.
Someone once told me back in the 90s I looked like Damone from Fast Times.
You know what? I was just thinking that right now.
Oh, really?
I was just thinking that right now.
Okay. All right. All right. So,
But I've had a few people from the movie on the show. I haven't had Damone yet. I'd like to get him because some people have.
yeah.
But I love that movie. And I think a lot of it is how real the film was. But I'm going to tell you, there's one moment in the film that really touches me. And it's a relationship and the back and forth between Ray Walston as Mr. Hand and Jeff Spicoli, played by Sean Penn,
Hmm.
because they're confrontational. But there was one moment in the film, every time I see it, I'm touched. And it's when, he's on the phone with Eric Stoltz. They're going to go to the dance.
Hmm.
And then his younger sibling comes in and he goes, I told you, you have to knock. She walks out the door. Then you hear the knock. He goes, Entree. And in walks Mr. Hand.
Hmm.
And he says, going somewhere, Mr. Spicoli? And he goes, yeah, the homecoming dance. Everybody's going to be there. And he goes, well, I think we got stuff to straighten out here. And he goes on, he says, you've wasted this much time. And
I
that's a
remember.
kind estimate. But here's the thing that touched me about that scene.
Tell
And
me.
boy, did it hits me every time.
Hmm.
At the end of that segment, when he's given, Spicoli's given his answer. And, he closes his book and he goes, it's not, or says something along the lines of, it's not a bad answer, Mr. Spicoli. He goes, he goes, um, says, blah, blah, blah. You have one of these students that you try to make an example of. And, um, and Mr. Hand goes, well, I guess you'll find out next year. And he goes, what? You're failing me? And he looks at Mr. Spicoli and goes, you'll probably squeak by, Mr. Spicoli.
Hmm.
And and Jeff Spicoli goes, aloha, Mr. Hand. And he goes, aloha, Mr. Spicoli. And of course, he looks at that vacant picture on the wall. He kind of shakes his head, walks out. What touched me about that
Yeah.
is when he says, you'll probably squeak by.
Yeah.
I think it was his way of saying, look, the reason I came over here tonight was not to interrupt your dance, is because despite your interruptions and the pizza being delivered to class, and I see potential in you. I see somebody that could be better than what you're putting on.
Right. Right. I
And
got you.
so, yeah, I think, and you got teachers like this, and I've had them myself. where you got teachers that had issues with students, but it's like, you know what? You're putting on this act, but I'm going to force you one way or another. I'm going to break you because I know you're a 10, but you're playing as a 1, but I know you're a 10. And when he says you probably squeak by, he probably did more than squeak by. He was probably, I think he had a lot more faith. And I think when he went to his house, it wasn't about teaching Spicoli a lesson. It was about showing Spicoli that, you know what? You could be something bigger than you are. That was powerful to me.
I get it. I get it.
That was so powerful to
I
me,
get
you
it.
know? I love that. And, there's, let me see, my third pick. Good question.
Yeah. What would the third be?
Good question.
And then,
I like John Carpenter's Halloween.
mhm.
I like Brian De Palma's Dress to Kill.
Okay,
I
okay.
like Miss 45 a lot.
I know you like Miss 45 a lot. I was expecting that to be in one of the top threes, actually, but
Actually,
yeah,
it probably might be in the top three. I've had her widow on 3 times.
yeah,
Not three
I
times,
know.
5 times.
You mentioned, yeah.
Oh yeah. And I've interviewed a couple of the other cast members from it. And of course I like Class of 1984,
Hmm,
you
hmm.
know. But I like a lot of teen movies as well. Like aside from Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Everybody Wants Them, it's like Risky Business I love. 16 Candles I love.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, the John Hughes stuff and
yeah.
how about
Valley
some of
Girl.
those? Yeah, yeah, that the Valley Girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a forgotten film actually.
I love
Um,
Valley Girl. I've done
have you
some
ever
movies from that.
have you ever seen The Vals? VALS? Underrated film, forgotten film. Nobody knows about it. Look it up. The Vals.
Okay.
Check it out on a Creepy Ghoul recommendation right there if you can find it.
But then,
Um,
but even other genres, like I like mainly horror and comedy.
yeah.
But I mean, there's some fantasy I like. I like the original Clash of the Titans. Now
Oh,
that
I
if you
love that film. I love that film.
well, here's the thing. If you was to ask me my favorite films when I was young, Clash of the Titans would be my number one. It's still a favorite of mine. It's still a
Yeah.
favorite of mine. I like Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah, Blade Runner. Yeah, I love
Yep,
Blade Runner actually. Yeah. A
yep,
lot of people don't like Blade Runner. They say it's a slow burn, which it is, but I mean, that's a pretty fucking trippy film, let me tell you.
yep.
Um, you watch it on like say crystal clear Blu-ray. Holy fuck, man. Just like the new version of the original Exorcist on Blu-ray, that special edition. When I first saw that on Blu-ray, it added a whole other dimension to that film. I was like blown away, man. I was like, wow. Um,
Speaking
yeah,
of Exorcist, I got this from Eileen Dietz.
oh, I like that a lot. Yeah.
She's been
Yeah.
on the show a few times. That's her face.
I love it. Yeah, one of my favorite horror films, The Exorcist. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
Eileen
it.
is wonderful.
Love it. Would
Yeah.
have loved to have met Linda Blair, but she has a habit of canceling at cons, apparently. But let me ask you another question. So I know that you're obsessed with autographs. You love autographs. You love,
Just like you're obsessed with posters.
well, it's true. It's true. It's my weakness. I love paper collectibles, flyers, posters, like stuff like that. I mean, why the autograph obsession? Correct me if I'm wrong, even, but how many autographs, if you had to guess, would you say you have? If you had to guess.
Don't know, but I'll tell you what I met back in 10th grade. I met Charles Robinson, who was a commissioner in Police Academy. He was doing a talk about UNICEF, you
Hmm.
know, and I met him, and that was the first autograph I ever got. But through the mail, and I remember it was 1993. I don't know why I did this because I always have I'm always able to see something in people. Um, but I remember when I was in 1993, I wrote, and I didn't tell anybody in my family I did this because I didn't want to risk being made fun of. But I wrote to Andrea Barber, who was
Mm,
Kimmy Gibbler in Full
mm,
House.
mhm.
You know what's funny? I always found her attractive, but I don't think a lot of people saw it until
No,
until one day I came home from wherever, and Mom was very apologetic. She said, I got some mail. She said she opened it because when I was younger, remember I told you I was bullied?
yes.
Apparently, my classmates stuck a Playboy magazine in in our mailbox, and my mom thought,
Ah,
and because mom knew I was being bullied, and she thought this might have been something like that. But she was very apologetic, and she handed me the envelope. And first thing mom says is that she can't believe how beautiful this woman is. It was a black and white picture of Andrea Barber, and it's like, yeah, Kimmy Gibbler is smoking hot. And I wrote again, and I got a couple of colored autograph pictures of her as well. She used to
hmm.
send a little newsletter out called The Barber Shop, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, and I still have those autographs. I do not sell my autographs, and so I got some Kimmy Gibbler autographs, and
Wicked, wicked. Those
and
are probably rare as fuck.
yep, I
Seriously.
got those. I remember one person I wrote to, Nicole Tom from The Nanny, who I thought was really hot. She was the oldest daughter, and she was also in Beethoven and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
don't know what I said to her because I think I was trying to be funny, but she sent me a black and white photo, had her name signed on it, and at the top of it said, "Hey, weirdo."
Wicked,
I thought
wicked.
that was funny. Um, but uh, but I owe a lot. I owe a lot to Lisa Langlois because when I started doing this podcast, because I kind of just fell into this, like the Tommy Wiseau interview, which was the first one, that came through a third party, and I just happened to have the means for which we could do this.
Hmm.
And but we after Tommy Wiseau, it's like, who else can we do this with? My
Hmm.
mind went back to women I had crushes on growing up,
Hmm.
and the next person I got was Adrienne King from Friday the 13th.
Hmm.
You know, I could not believe it. I remember I just reached out to her on a whim. I reached out to her and I reached out to Lisa Langlois from class of 1984. I heard from Adrienne King on the long weekend of May 2015. I just leaned back in my chair. It's like she said yes, and She responded. She said yes. Couldn't believe it. I had her on the show, and I've since met her at Frightmare in the Falls.
Hmm.
And and eventually, I ended up having Lisa on. Lisa became my first solo interview
Hmm.
where I didn't have a guest host on with me. And it was in 2017 when I had Lisa on the second time. We got talking about travel, and she asked what was stopping me, and she offered me a chance to go assist her at Horrorama in Toronto.
Hmm.
I couldn't say no to that because I grew up with class of 1984. I loved Patsy,
Great
and
film.
yeah, and I was like, and I remember my dad at the time said, "Oh, it's going to cost you a lot of money to go there," and I was like, "If I don't do this, Dad, I'm going to kick myself for it." And it was like, it was interesting having Lisa accept me as a friend, where I've had so many women who mistreated me. And Lisa wasn't involved with me romantically, but it's just the idea that she was, yeah, come to Toronto, assist me at my table at this event.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was my first time on a plane. I'm the only one in my family who've been on a plane.
Hmm.
I was nervous at first until I get up in the air and I get a rush out of it. And I like flying. I don't mind it. But and I remember landing in Toronto and the escalators at Billy Bishop Airport. We haven't had escalators here in Fredericton since the mid 80s.
Yeah.
You know, we had a Zellers downtown that used to have them, but that Zellers isn't there anymore, and neither is the escalators.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, they went the way of the drive-in here. But as somebody who struggled with acceptance and fitting in growing up, there was just something about going around and meeting some of these people. Uh, it was like finally, it's like I'm getting a moment where I can feel special,
I understand. I do.
you know,
I get it.
like I'm going to get personal here. I've never had sex in my life. And I used to hate that about myself. I used to self abuse myself over that.
Hmm.
Not anymore. Because you know how many of these actresses I've kissed on the cheek? Like, I could care less about fucking somebody. Last year at Frightmare in the Falls, Tracy Savage from Friday the 13th, Part 3, who's been on my show 6 times,
Hmm.
she let me kiss her on the cheek. I asked her, of course.
Hmm.
I've kissed Lisa on the cheek before.
Hmm.
Um, various others, Felissa Rose, Adrienne King, I think even Caroline Monroe when we met her.
Mm.
And and there's just, it's not sex or anything, but it's like, my lips have touched greatness. And there's no amount of sex that would ever ready to replicate that. I'm sorry.
I
But,
understand. I
but
understand. I get it.
yeah, it's kind of fun doing this podcast and going to a place like I've been recognized maybe twice at these events for doing my podcast. It's always both times it was strange to be recognized. It was not uncomfortable, but it's like, wow, and this is so much beyond what I'm used to. But I love going to these events and I got photos of me with my picture taken with these people and some of them I've become friends with, like, Lisa Langwa, Nancy McLaughlin, and, Tracy Savage comes on here every Boxing Day.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning
Yeah.
it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that is extremely, like, I had a crush on Tracy Savage in Friday the 13th, Part 3. Debbie was smoking hot.
Yeah, she
And
was. I remember.
yeah, absolutely, But here she is at this event, and she recognizes me right away when she sees me. And I come over, she gives me a big hug, and I say, "You mind if I give you a kiss on the cheek?" And she did not even hesitate. And there's something about that that's so cool. And it's like I don't have to beat myself up over being a fucking virgin anymore. Because number one, I don't have any unwanted kids.
Hmm.
I don't have any diseases, you know. And people always make fun of the cat ladies. Well, I think the cat ladies have it right because I've got a cat. And I'll tell you, I love having Skittles around. I'll tell you that. He's a great cuddle buddy, and he always is happy to see me. He loves me unconditionally. But I've like I've had a like I get the autographs, and it's like that's another thing too. Like even doing the show, interviewing somebody from these movies or music or something, it's like I'm touching a piece of something,
I get it. I
you
totally
know?
get it.
Like
Eh,
I've interviewed people from various movies, and it's like I watch these movies, and it's like I made connections in this classic movie. Like I've had Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter on here.
You've mentioned that to me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite impressive.
I had the woman who doubled for Janet Leigh in the shower in Psycho on here. You know how amazing that is? I had the little girl from It's a Wonderful Life that said every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
Hmm.
She was on here, and there's something about that that's truly amazing to me. And because I used to be talk a lot of suicide when I was young. I don't talk that way anymore. Part of that Saturday Night Fever waking me the fuck up and helped me realize my value. But another is that, whether a woman fucks me or not, it's kind of like, this is really, really, really cool. And plus, I've been able to make fun of it because I've often said my favorite relationship is Emma Stone. And they say,
Mm.
"Have you met Emma Stone?" I said, "No, but I've had a crush on her since Superbad in 2007, her first movie." And I said, "We have such a great relationship that, she's got two movies coming out this year. One, I think, later this month, and one this fall." I say, Emma expects me to spend money to go to these movies. And for that money, she will do her best to entertain me for 2 hours. And she will look gloriously beautiful. And she will make me laugh and all those Emma Stone quirks. And I said, when the movie's done, I go home.
Hmm.
She goes home to her husband. He sees her all of her bad habits. I see her just as the perfect Emma Stone. And I wait for her next movie to come out.
Yeah, that's about all you can do, really.
Um, I'm like, I don't need a relationship, and I joke about the Emma Stone thing, but Emma Stone to me is kind of ideal for me because she's just got this wicked sense of humor. It's like um, I could watch her in anything. She just whatever it is she does, she just magnetizes my attention to that screen, whatever it is she does. And I always find her interesting. Glad she's won two Oscars, but I often said, yeah, Emma's my best relationship because we don't have to we only expect one thing from each other. She expects my support. I expect to be entertained. We stay out of each other's.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
But I'm joking when I say that. But I find so many people in relationships today where there's turmoil, marriages are breaking up, and this and that. And
Hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
really, am I missing anything? I don't think so.
Yes and no. But first, a word from our sponsor, Dracula
Ah,
AD 1972, autographed by Caroline Munro.
saw that in Toronto when they screened it at Horrorama, and Caroline did was there at the screening doing a Q&A for it.
I really enjoyed meeting her. Let me tell you right now.
I had her on, yeah,
Yeah,
I had her on here in 2016, and I had her and I've had Veronica Carlson, who has since passed, but Veronica was on here from the Hammer films as well. Um,
love Hammer films.
yeah, but yeah, I saw that screened, and that was the first time I ever seen it. So I got to see it for the first time with Caroline and all the people that were there for that, you
I
know?
couldn't I couldn't make it that night, and I told her that. Um, the thing is, not the greatest Christopher Lee Dracula film, um, but it was still pretty good. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best. But anyhow,
Hmm.
which brings me to my next question. Most memorable celeb ever met. Who was it?
Most memorable.
Most
Well,
memorable.
I'll be honest with you. I gotta say Lisa Langlois because she had the biggest impact on me.
I understand. Yeah, well, I've heard
Yeah.
the story, and I completely understand that. Yeah,
Um,
good one.
but I mean, gee, other stories like I've never had any bad encounters, and I'm hoping to keep it that way.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to tell you the one that I was most nervous to meet, and I plan to meet her again this year.
Hmm.
At Frightmare in the Falls 2021, I met Laura Vandervoort,
Oh yeah, okay, okay.
and she's gorgeous, but the movies don't do her justice. To see her in person, she was there. She looked stunning. She had a black leather jacket on. I was almost afraid to approach her. I had goosebumps, you know? I think I bought like 4 photos off her table, got my TED Blu-ray signed. Oh my goodness. And I plan to go meet her again at Fan Expo. And she's one of the more affordable ones to meet too. But a lot of people have various uh, thoughts on various celebrities. There's certain I'd say there's about 3 kinds of celebrities at these cons. You got ones that are just there to make money, you know, and you can tell who they are because they're not very interactive. William Shatner comes off that way. Now, I met William Shatner at Chiller, and it was very pricey, but I got my brother the autographed picture because he watches Skittles, and I got a picture taken with him. I did a fist bump with him, you know. He wasn't rude or anything, but he was, you weren't going to get a whole lot out of him. I plan to meet him again at Fan Expo because I think I would like to get an autographed picture now. You
Hmm.
know, he's 94,
Hmm.
but you got celebrities like that. And you know, I'm not going to diss that because you know I know there's they I hear stories about people being rude and this and that. You know, like I met
Hmm.
Tom Savini, and a lot of people have said bad things about Tom. I didn't have a bad.
No, God, I met him years and years and years ago. But go
I
on.
Yeah, I met him. I didn't have an issue with him,
No, me neither.
but I you could tell that you know he's kind of going by the motions here. He's done these. Now, the
He's a
second kind of celebrity are the ones that are very cordial. They're very polite. They're there to make money, but they'll engage with you if you ask them a question. I'm going to tell you one example I have of that. At Chiller, there was a lot of people that complained about Sybil Shepherd.
hmm.
I'm not going to complain about her because one, it was her first convention. So she was just dipping her toe into this.
Right, right.
Yep. But here's
Yeah.
the thing with Sybil. Um, I had a great interaction with her. She was the first autograph I got. And when I approached her, selected my picture,
Hmm.
and I said to her, I said, because I grew up, I love the old pie in the face joke. And I said to Sybil, I said, how many times in your career have you taken a pie in the face? And she said, just once, just in moonlighting. And I said, didn't you do one? I think it was your sitcom where you're holding yourself up by your hair and you have a pie in your hand and you let your head face drop into it. And she looks at me and she holds her finger up and she goes, "You're right." And whoever was taking pictures took multiple pictures of our
Hmm.
interaction.
Hmm.
And I get a shot of her like this
Hmm.
at me, and she looks amused. And I think she appreciated that. And I had a good experience with Sybil, but I've defended her in saying it's her first con. Let her dip her
Hmm.
toe into it. Why?
Sure.
You
That's
know?
fair. That's
Yep.
fair.
And then there's ones that really they really want to know who their fans are. I'll give you two good examples of that. Toronto Comic Con, I met John Rhys Davies of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he would always ask everybody what they did for a living and whatnot, you know,
Hmm.
and he would engage with them on that. I remember when I met him, I got my picture taken with him. I got my Raiders of the Lost Ark Blu-ray signed.
Hmm.
And he went like this into my side with his fingers to get me to laugh in the photo. And he it succeeded. It was a funny moment. Very similarly is William Catt, who I met at Chiller. William Catt, so professional. Every single person that approached him, he would come out from around his table, shake their hand, and he'd act like I remember there was this mother and son there. The
Hmm.
son had just graduated high school.
Hmm.
And William Catt asked him, "Oh, what do you want to do after high school?" "Go to college." He goes, "Oh, what college you gonna go to? What do you want to be?" And he just engaged with him, and it really gave a great impression of William Catt. You know,
That's how I would be too, you know what I mean? If I was like some big celeb, you know what I mean? I'd definitely be engaging, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, up one more level. Then you got the ones, as this is Spinal Tap would say,
Mm,
turn up to 11.
yeah.
And these people are so exciting to meet. Felissa Rose turns it up to 11. I'm going to tell you, she knows the drill, and you're going to walk away with a great experience with Felissa Rose. I met her twice, and I met her at the 2021 Frightmare in the Falls. This was the
Hmm.
first con they had since the pandemic.
Hmm.
And some people were wearing masks and whatnot.
Yeah,
Felissa was a little different story. I got well, this is one of the one where the person was taking multiple pictures.
yeah.
I got a picture of her embracing me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and she didn't have a mask on or anything. She was embracing me, you know? And she would always do the Angela face photo
Hmm.
and then another photo of us just being normal. But we were in a James Balsamo movie together called It Wants Blood, where my footage is being watched on TV by Eric Roberts. And Felissa Rose is in that. And she was doing the signing beside Dave Sheraton, of course, who was Officer Doofy in Scary Movie. And I'll tell you, watching those two banter back and forth.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And Dave Sheraton would show up there in costume. He'd show up there in the Officer Doofy costume.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a picture of him sticking the vacuum cleaner into Felissa Rose's butt. I'm like, this is Doofy versus Angela. But I said to him, I mentioned to him about It Wants Blood, and he goes, technically speaking, you're my boss. And he nudges Felissa Rose at the next table and goes, "Hey, this is our boss." And Felissa Rose is like, "Hi." And the second time I met her was at Frightmare in the Falls,
Hmm.
I think 2023. That was the year I did this with Lisa. And I left my hotel and I went over to the Marriott to see if Lisa needed help carrying anything over to the arena. And Lisa was in uh, the main area there with everybody in there waiting for the shuttle bus to take them over to the event center.
Yeah.
You had Nick Castle sitting there playing on his phone. You had, oh gee, uh, Keith David just standing there with his bag down by his feet. Keith David was so warm and inviting. I saw him standing there and I looked at him and he smiled and I was walked over. I shook his hand and just had a conversation with him about Roddy Piper because I've had his
Hmm.
daughter on here several times.
Hmm.
And he was just so inviting. But Felissa Rose comes out of the elevator. She steps out and she looks around. She goes, "Is everybody ready?" Like she is just on a level. If you get to meet Felissa Rose, do it because she makes it worth it. And the closest I've seen to her was at Chiller. I wasn't planning to meet this person, but I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
I met Charles.
Oh, Sharo. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, Charles. Okay, I called her Charles. Okay,
yeah.
Charles. Oh my goodness. She's another one that is just and there was multiple pictures taken. Like there's a picture of me giving her my card, and she's looking at got a look on her face like she's honored I'm even giving her a card,
Hmm. Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know? And oh my
Because
goodness, like she was just I heard stories that she'd leave her booth for a moment to take a break and she would just walk by the vendors and just happy to meet anybody. I like
yeah,
those encounters.
I hear you, man. And even
Mhm.
Sharo too. I remember seeing her on the Love Boat and like back in the '80s and all these different shows and stuff like that. She was quite a character and a showwoman, a showman, showwoman. Yeah, I think that anybody after Gen Xers will not know who Sharo is.
Oh,
That's
she
for sure.
she was people were asked on the Chiller Facebook page
You know,
who your favorite guest was to meet. And pretty much everybody got mentioned, but Charles, far and beyond,
I
was the
believe it.
most common name mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I can
because
believe
she
that.
was so electrifying and so
That's
magnetic.
Sharo.
Yeah,
That's always been Sharo.
yeah.
Now, let's move on to my next question. Now, I'm going to phrase this question into letters, okay? Cuckold. What does it spell?
Cuckold.
Talk about it.
You know what? I've never done it, but I'll tell you, it's kind of something I use as a weapon. I've been rejected all my life. Anytime I've wanted to, anytime I've pursued a female, showed interest in a female, I get rejected. Too often times they're not, that are more interested in somebody that's going to treat them as a punching bag. It would affect my self-esteem. And I'm trying to think how this came about.
Talk about
I come from a Christian household. I still believe in the Bible and I still read my Bible when I can. I haven't left my faith, but I'm only human. And I remember there was this Christian organization that were praising this garbage film called Fireproof. And it's like I think Christianity is supposed to be about being honest. It's like stop giving 4 stars to Fireproof whenever it's a shitty fucking movie, predictable garbage. But here's the thing. This is a movie where Kirk Cameron plays a fireman whose relationship with his wife is going sour, and she's a nurse and throughout the film, they're having issues and could be heading towards divorce. Of course, that's not going to happen because these films are predictable. There was partway through the film where there's another doctor, a male doctor, showing interest in his wife. And when Kirk and this woman end up mending fences, you know, the fellow suitor doctor, and I thought this was so lame. He opens up his drawer and he pulls his wedding band out and puts it on his finger like he's going to make things right with his relationship. Well, we're never told anything about this, and it just seemed like a cheap slap on. And people would say, "Well, can you do better?" And I said, "Yes, I could do better." How about making Kirk Cameron believe that his wife is cheating on him, even if she's not cheating on him? because it will get a much more emotional response. And when the payoff happens, it'll be stronger, more powerful, as opposed to preaching to people and making a
Hmm.
really horrible looking movie. Something about that hit me. And it's funny, it came from Fireproof of all movies. But I thought about all the times I've been rejected, and I get told to lower my standards, lower my standards. It's like, no, not go lower my standards. Why should I lower my standards? Like, if you're gonna have sex with somebody, I don't like. Mom used to do this to me. She said, "It doesn't matter what the person looks like." I was like, "Fuck, it doesn't matter." Yeah, it kind of does matter what the person looks like, you know?
Well,
I mean, looks are not everything, but
I'll put it to you this way, as we used to say back in the day, it's not the face you fuck, but it is the fuck that you face. Carry on.
here's the thing. Um, After being rejected so many times, and I used to like at any time, like even in high school, I get rejected. And anytime I saw the girl that rejected me with her boyfriend, I would get this hideous burning feeling throughout my soul, so to speak. Not a desire. It was uncomfortable, but I couldn't fucking look away. And I was like
Mm.
dreading if I ever saw them kiss. I never did. But when I saw Fireproof, it brought me back to that. And it brought me back to how many times have I've been rejected and some other guy got the girl. And then I thought, you know what? I don't I started thinking about the fireproof thing, and what if the wife had sex with the doctor? Yeah. And I don't know why that stuck with me, but one day I was sitting at the computer and I was looking up. I think I typed in watching wife, and that was where the term cuckold came up. And I did not know what that term was.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I'm just engrossed in it. And I remember even watching Indecent Proposal, renting that just
Mm.
to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought the best cuckold stories, and they're rarely ever done. To me, the best cuckold stories are the ones where the arrogant bully asshole loses his girlfriend to the guy he bullied. You know, I
I
always
do
like
know.
those. Huh?
No, I do know. Now, that brings me to my next question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Three things all women should know about you. What are they?
Well, hold that thought. Going back to the cuckold thing, I've never done it. But
Hmm.
I'll say one thing. I've kind of, in the back of my mind, used it as a weapon.
Tell me more about that. I want to hear about that weapon.
Well, I got fired from the hospital because I had a crush on one of my coworkers.
Yes.
And here the problem, and she had a boyfriend. But here's the thing, and it was affecting my self-esteem, and whatnot. And it was making it very hard, even though I'd still go to work.
Hmm.
I had somebody fucking meddle in that, and one of the reasons I don't go back to that hospital is because if I see that guy again, I will beat him to a fucking pulp. However, um, I remember telling them before I leave because they kept saying, "You'll meet Miss Wright someday, Miss Wright, Miss Wright, Miss Wright." One of the reasons I got fired is because I told them, I said, Miss Wright is going to be fucking another guy, and you guys are going to see it happen because I'm going to make sure of it. Now, am I really going to do that? Probably not. But it was my way of saying, fuck you. Miss Wright hasn't been in my life for 53 fucking years. So she can fuck somebody else. And they didn't like that. But you know what? Fuck them. You know, it's my way of kind of coping with it.
I understand. That
Yep.
makes perfect sense.
Three things.
All women should know about you. Three things. What are they right here, right now? What are they?
Well, one thing is I have their back, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. My work schedule, for example, when I show up the night of an eye operation, or I'm still working four more buildings after throwing up in a toilet at the first building, you know I'm committed to doing my work, you know?
Hmm.
I'm one of these people that like even when I'm in Toronto, you know, like if I'm out with somebody to dinner, I'll pay for it because it's the way Dad brought me up, you know.
Sure, sure.
That doesn't mean I'm a doormat. It's showing appreciation.
I'm the same way myself. I get it.
Yeah. Second thing to know about me, and it's going to seem awful hard to come to face with this after talking about cuckolding, but um, I do come from the Christian faith, and I stand by that. Um, it's funny. I'm thinking about getting a Passion of the Christ T-shirt because that film I think was gorier than most horror films.
Yeah, I've
But
heard. I've personally never seen it. It's never
oh,
like interested me, but I've heard all about it. So
it's
yeah, yeah,
graphic. Well,
yeah.
it's done so well. Mel Gibson shot that film well, and he shot it from the original language.
Hmm.
But just the camera work in it. There's a moment in the film where after Christ dies, there's a shot taken from up in the sky, and then it gets wet, and it's like rain, but it's like a raindrop coming down from the camera, and it comes down, it
Hmm.
hits into the gravel dirt, and then the earthquake happens or whatnot. You know, there's so many moments like this, the way the film was lit and whatnot. Yeah, I'd like Passion of the Christ would be right home and cover of Fangoria magazine. That film was truly graphic,
I've
but it
heard.
was done so well, and uh you know what you're getting into when you go into it because you know it's about the story of Christ. But unlike Fireproof or Unplanned or some shit like that, that's just generic preachy garbage. This one here had some actual friggin' filmmaking skill go into it, and I mean, I know he did Braveheart before that, but I think that Passion of the Christ was Braveheart times 10 in terms of how Gibson grown as a filmmaker, you know?
Mm,
I
mm,
was very impressed with that, how that movie was shot, you know? I
mhm.
believe in the Bible, and there's not a day goes by when I say my prayers where I ask God to forgive me for my sins, but I also add something to it. Help me to forgive others. Because
Mm.
you've heard a lot of that anger in me talking about, even with the cuckolding thing,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, there's some anger there, you know, or me talking about beating the shit out of somebody. There's some anger there.
Oh,
And
I hear it.
every
Yeah.
day I ask him not just to forgive me of my sins, help me to forgive others because I kind of want free of that burden. My dad
Mm,
influenced me so much on being a Christian. My dad was a workaholic.
mhm,
My dad worked at the MB Tel for 30 years here, the telephone company. Then, you know, my grandfather was running Gilbert
mhm,
Spring Water Plant. And my dad, when he retired from the telephone company, he went to work at the spring water plant. He couldn't just retire. No, he went down there so my grandfather could just putter around, do whatever. My dad was there until he got stricken with ALS. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you things, and I was happy to see Dad on his deathbed, and I was able to say this to him because Dad was somebody. When Dad was baptized, I think Dad really became invaded with the Holy Spirit because I see Christ in my dad, and I would like to be so much more like him. I think I am with the amount of time I work and keeping my bills and stuff prioritized, but Dad would wake up at 3 in the morning on a winter day,
Hmm.
strap the plow to his truck, and go out and plow driveways and not ask for a cent for it. He just did it because he knew it was something the right thing to do.
Hmm.
And he always treated us well. When we had our annual Christmas dinner for the water plant,
Hmm.
Dad would sneak off and pay the entire bill. That was my dad.
Yeah.
And it was his way of saying, I appreciate all you people. And
Well,
I'm
I
going to
get.
tell well, I'm going
Mhm.
to tell you something I noticed when he was stricken with ALS, and that you want to talk about his faith being tried, but there was something I told him this the morning before he died. I said, Dad, I noticed something you did. And all he was able to do was this with his pinky. But I knew he could hear me. He was in his wheelchair. He couldn't talk,
Mhm.
you know, he could make noise.
Mhm.
He was trying to at Christmas time, that last Christmas he had, he was trying to say something to one of the hired help.
Mhm.
And I kind of watched him and I watched him and I watched him. Finally, it got to the point where he was trying to tell them, get the Kleenex box off the Bible. And I said to Dad, I said, that was so powerful to me. Because even in your states, like Job in the Bible, I was like, even in that state, you kept your faith.
Mhm.
Now, I don't want to be preachy. Dad don't have ALS anymore. No, he's not 6 feet under. His body is. We don't get to keep these bodies. We get to keep our souls.
Mhm.
Where dad is, dad's free.
Mhm.
No ALS, none of that. He's meeting Jesus face to face, seeing my grandparents. I remember when my grandfather was baptized. He was baptized late, but even he became a man of faith. My grandmother used to take us to church when we were young, and I'm so glad she did. And you hear a lot about preachers, altar boys, and shit like that, and that's what they want to dwell on. Very few people actually talk about Christians actually being Christians.
Mhm.
And I wish I could be even half the person my dad was, because my dad wanted to take care of everybody around him.
Mhm.
It was frustrating for him when he had ALS because he could,
Yeah.
everybody had to take care of him,
Yeah.
you know. But he right up to the end, and I was at the water plant working. I don't know why I remember the dates. I started there November 16th, 1998,
Mhm.
and I was done on September 29th, 2017.
Mhm.
Because I remember I interviewed Blue Lou Marini from the Blues Brothers that day.
Mhm.
But Dad the ALS was hitting him, and he was going to have to sell the business.
Mhm.
And that was hard. Dad held on as long as he could, and it got to the point where his body was shutting down. His mind was still working, but his body was
Mhm.
shutting down. I remember I made him laugh one day because I had come back from Comic Con
Mhm.
and I was showing my autographs. Even in his state that he was in, he actually laughed when he saw that I had an autographed picture of Steve Urkel. That tickled him. That I
Mhm.
had Steve
Tickling
Urkel with
me.
his pants up under his thing and said to
Yeah.
Greg, my man, Jahil White. And
Yeah,
my
yeah.
dad thought that was dad thought that was funny, you know.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
and dad had Skittles stay with me because Skittles used to stay with my parents.
mhm.
And dad said, had Skittles stay with me so I'd have company. But he knew I would take care of Skittles well. And they kept their Australian Shepherd because they were really close to it. But that would be one thing I want known about me is, but I'm working all the time on my Christianity, and I don't preach to people.
Mhm.
Look at some of the movies I watch. A lot of people in church would be like, "Jeepers, Greg, why are you watching
Yeah,
that?"
yeah, yeah.
But I get different things from different movies.
Yeah,
I mean,
much, much.
look at Fireproof. I got introduced to cuckolding from that. Look at that,
Yeah,
without even being part of that.
and much like the python snake and the hyena, they just don't understand
They
these types
don't.
of films. That's the thing, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that I get it. I get it all the time, actually. Holy shit.
And the third
But
thing I would say for them to
yeah.
know about me is I probably have a massive obsession with movies.
Hmm.
You know, I'm very strict about one thing when it comes to movies. I can't stand people who are narrow-minded about movies. They won't watch a black and white movie. They
Oh,
won't watch
I
them.
hate that.
I hate that. I
I
hate
know.
that.
Me too, man. I know.
They
I
won't
know.
watch a movie before 2000,
I know.
like
I know.
I can't stand that. I can't fucking stand that. The conversation is over. If you're watching the remake of Psycho and not the original, conversation's done.
Yeah, I
Done.
agree.
Yeah, done.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, now, here's the thing. I've always said you could relate day-to-day life back to the Peanuts gang, Charlie Brown, Snoopy. Peanuts logic was something like no other, man. Those kids were ahead of their time. So let me ask you something. Which Peanuts character would best describe you?
You want me to tell you who I think best describes me? Although I think the character is smarter than I am, but I think he kind of describes Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown, eh?
And I'll tell you why. Charlie Brown always had the ball grabbed out in front of him by Lucy. I
Mm-hmm.
know what that feels like. He
Mm-hmm.
gets called a blockhead.
Yeah.
But it's funny, Charlie Brown, especially if you watch Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, when they're stuck on the raft there up
Mm-hmm.
on
I
the
remember.
waterfall, Charlie
Yep.
Brown has to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw the recent one where the digital one. I actually thought was fantastic, but I'm going to tell you something.
Now hold on a second. The digital one from what year? Because
It was 2000 teen somewhere.
okay, because I've got it right up there, the Blu-ray box set, the Peanuts movie,
Yeah.
the blue. I have it right there, the Blu-ray box set, and it comes with a bonus pack, comes with like a Snoopy stuffy
Hmm.
inside. I've got it right up there. So I saw that, and you know what? For a modern Peanuts film, I didn't mind it, to be quite honest with you. But
One scene stood out to me.
which one? I
There
vaguely
was a
remember it.
scene. There was a scene in the movie, and I've only seen the movie once, so this is hazy.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where he has to tell his peers something. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, go on. Here you
There you go. There's a scene in the movie where he has to tell his peers something, and he has this note. Yeah, yeah, that was actually a really good movie.
I
This
think so.
scene, this scene that I'm talking about, there was a note he had in his pocket. Any other movie would have had him lie, and the whole movie be about him trying to cover that up. Yep. Wow.
Yeah, it's right up there, top shelf.
Any other movie would have had him just try to hide the fact. I liked it when he folded the paper up and he just came out and told the truth about whatever it was. I forget what it was. And he just told them, this is what's going on. And I was like, so many movies would have just fucked around with that. And that movie, and it really showed Charlie Brown as a stand-up character. Because really, in reality, Charlie Brown was probably the smartest one in that class. But he doesn't feel that way because he's often put down. I know how Charlie Brown feels when it comes to that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I know this may sound kind of funny and all, but if Charlie Brown was a real person type of thing and acting like the way he's acting, I'm surprised that to this day, even in the cartoons, that Charlie Brown doesn't have PTSD. Holy crap, man.
Yeah.
Anybody, like if you had a real life Lucy, which I'm sure there's like many out there, treating like anybody like holy shit, man. Holy crap. Can you imagine? I'm
Yep.
sure that stuff that stuff exists in schools, in whatever. Yeah. But
Yep.
yeah, I vaguely remember the film because I saw it years ago when it came out. I remember I liked it as a modern Peanuts film. But yeah, you just kind of refreshed my memory about it. But yeah, okay. Yeah, great.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it enough to get the box set. Holy crap. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I saw that in the theater and I liked it a lot. But yeah, I think Charlie Brown I'd relate to the most.
Okay.
But I think Charlie Brown is a smarter character than I am. I find with me, sometimes I find it hard to figure things out. And sometimes I have to have other people read over the fine print for me. I don't see Charlie Brown as being that guy.
Hmm.
But outside that, and I also see Charlie Brown as a guy that wants to do the right thing. And despite,
Yeah.
me saying I want to lash out with the cockholding thing and blah, 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 do I really want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or is it just me expressing my anger?
No, I get it.
Because, yeah,
I get
because
it.
really I don't want to hurt people, but there are people right now, especially at my old hospital job, I would knock them out if I saw them now.
Yeah.
So I try to keep my distance on that
Yeah.
because I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. No, I get it. And this is what I mean by you can relate day-to-day life back to the Peanuts gang. I mean, for example, if I was to pick a Peanuts character that I resonate with, that I would compare myself to, would be Snoopy. Most definitely. Joe Cool in particular, because Snoopy wears a lot of hats, he wears a lot of costumes, he wears a lot of faces and whatnot, and that's how I see myself as, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
Particularly when I do Creepy Ghoul Vision, the
Hmm.
channel.
Yeah.
But let me ask you another question, and this question's been asked to me. Okay, I'm going to ask it to you. What gets you out of bed every day? No, I know. Other than work, what gets you out of bed every day? Forget about work. What gets
You want me
you
to
out
tell
of bed
you
every day?
Toronto?
Really?
Because when I first went to Toronto, it was like Judy Garland's as Dorothy stepping out of the house in The Wizard of Oz, and like,
Right.
everything is in color. I'm not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, get it.
I'm a little nervous about Toronto now because it's so pro-Palestine stuff. It's like that shit don't want to be going on anywhere in my vicinity. If I decide to go in the Eaton Center and these
Yeah.
fuckers that are blocking off, get the fuck out of my way or be trampled on. I'm not going to
Listen,
put up with it.
listen,
I'm like
straight up.
I'm like a full-grown bull elephant charging a lion pride. Get the
Listen,
fuck out of the way,
no, no, I hear you. Straight up, let me tell you, like I've lived in this city my entire life, and my entire life is 50 years. It's 51 years, November 20th, okay?
Hmm.
And that's the thing. This is, and I've said it before, and I'll keep on saying it. This is not the same Toronto it was 20 years ago. It really wasn't. Yeah, okay, you get protests every single week. There's protests down in the fucking city. My assistant at work, Jim, he lives literally right downtown, which is 15 minutes away from our work. And he complains to me all the time. I can't get, this road's closed, this street's closed, protesters, blah, 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 this and that, this and that, this and that. I'm like, yeah, I hear you. You know what I mean? This is not the same city it was. That's the thing.
This is where you want to
Um,
go all hacksaw Jim Duggan, pull a 2x4 out and
yeah,
just
well,
march
fuck yeah.
through. And yeah,
Well, that's just it. And at
like,
my job, I hear this day in and day out for the
mhm.
past 10 years. This month, July 2025, makes 10 years for me at my job. And I talk to people all day, every day about this type of stuff. I see people coming in all over the planet, man, all over Canada, all over the States, South America, whatever, coming looking for like our services and stuff like that. And we usually ask them, what brings you to this, what brings you here and stuff like that. I'm looking for a job, I'm looking for a place to stay, is a majority type of thing. I'm visiting type of thing. You know, they only need our services for like a month, maybe two. Two turns into three, turns into four. I can't find a job. I can't find an affordable place to stay. Like I hear this day in and day out. We do. I'm dead serious. This is not the same city, man. It really
well,
isn't.
I blame the Trudeau government for that. I blame that for a lot of it. I got told recently that I'm alienating people from the film industry and the convention scene because of my right-wing ranting. And I'm like, number one, if I have something on Facebook on my page and I didn't tag anybody, then nobody should be giving anybody blowback.
Hmm.
You know, they should be coming to me instead of acting like a fucking coward. Number two, I voted for Pierre Poilievre based on a number of policy. I met him at a rally. I voted for him. So did my younger brother, and
Hmm.
proudly so,
Hmm.
based on the fact that he wanted to axe that carbon tax, which is crippling us. He wanted to fix the budget, which Carney won't even give a fucking budget.
Hmm.
Nobody wants spending more than Trudeau. And he wanted to build the homes. We got too much bureaucracy in this country. Nothing's
Hmm.
getting built.
Hmm.
And number four, he wanted to take care of the crime. And to me, those were great policies. Instead, Carney uses Donald Trump as his big thing. I'm the one to face Trump, even though he basically Trump won that argument. I don't care what the CBC or anybody says. Trump won that argument. But, and I'm not even a Trump guy, but I've seen this hypocrisy. And then I get told, oh, I'm alienating. Number one, if somebody doesn't want to come on my show from
Hmm.
the industry because I voted for Pierre Poilievre, then
Hmm.
fuck, alienate yourself. Fuck off.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not cutting you off. You're cutting me off.
Hmm.
I'm like, fuck you. Number two,
Hmm.
um, when I see these people in the industry say stuff like, yeah, let's support the war in Iran. I think Trump should send out all the cis straight white men, blah, blah, blah. I don't see any of these fucking, as my friend, the best damn roofer would call them, lizards. I don't see any of them giving blowback over comments like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm sorry, like that leopard, wounded leopard, I'm
Hmm.
not going to sit down and die.
Hmm.
Say, you know what? You want to take me out? I'm going to do my best to take you out in the process. You want to
Hmm.
shoot at me? Prepared to get attacked back.
Hmm.
I'm getting tired of this.
Hmm.
Why can't we have a dialogue and a conversation?
Hmm.
Pierre Poilievre is not Donald Trump. He never was. Same with Danielle Smith is not Donald Trump. And I agree with her too. But
Hmm.
I'm getting sick and tired of what's become of this country where we're opening it up. so we can discriminate straight white men mainly, and you're letting like, number one, you got to vet people when they come into the country. I don't care who you are. You got to vet people because you don't know who you're bringing in.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's not being racist. That's being fucking smart. I'm getting tired of the DEI situation. I had an eye operation.
Hmm.
I don't care what the color of the skin or the gender of the person operating on me was. What I cared about is whether they knew what they were doing.
Hmm.
The person that operated on me, this is what they do. This
Hmm.
was their prime thing, was working surgery on eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I hear about a plane, an entire staff on a plane is all women, I'm not saying women can't fly planes, but when you're only hiring based on gender, you're making some fucking compromises that you
Mm.
shouldn't be making.
Hmm.
You know, I'm
Hmm.
getting
Yeah.
tired of this.
I understand.
And I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of news about Toronto and British Columbia, Vancouver, whatever, that's dealing with this stuff. And I've never had any issues going to Toronto. I love all the neon and the billboards and stuff. I love getting off the subway at any stop, and it's like a choose your own adventure. I loved going to that Eaton Center Cineplex and seeing It Follows, and it's like, wow, there's 24 theaters in here. It's beautiful in here. I love the Carlton Theater where I can see the classic films at $5, and they do that all the month. I love all the shops, the t-shirt shops, the collectible shops. I love that part of Toronto. And I think about that every day. And one of the reasons I video myself now on my trips, because when I'm on my deathbed, I want to be able to look back and say, oh, I mean, there was one day during the pandemic, I sat here and watched a video of just listening to sounds of the subway in Toronto.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 20 minutes of
I
it.
didn't know that there was such thing,
There was
but
a video
I
on it, but
I shouldn't
but
be surprised.
but here's the thing.
Yeah,
And a lot of people complain about the subway. I haven't had an issue, but when I see news
TTC is
new
fucking horrible,
when
but don't.
I see this news shit where there's fucking meth needles on seats, I'm sorry, clean this shit up.
Hmm.
Whether you're Trudeau or Carney, clean this fucking shit up or get the fuck out.
Hmm.
That's what I say to them. Because I pay my taxes, I work two jobs, and I haven't broken any rules, but I'll tell you, uh, if you're being voted in, you're voted in to serve the people. Don't fucking forget that. Problem is with these last two fuckers in office, they did forget that.
Mm. Mm.
So they got no respect from me. And
Mm.
people lash back at me because I'm not elbows up. You know what I think about elbows up? I think of the American dream, Dusty Rhodes, raising his elbow up and planting it down on somebody's head. And that's exactly what Donald Trump's doing to our current prime minister.
Mm.
And no, I'm not defending Trump, but I'll tell you one thing. When I hear Trudeau get called governor, I smile. I smile, you know, or as um, uh, Kevin O'Leary says, idiot king. Yeah.
So,
I'm getting tired of people coming into power and just filling their fucking pockets.
mhm.
I got a great idea. How about try to improve the lives of people so you can go down in the books as somebody who's not a fuck up? I listened to a thing on Watch Mojo the other night. Actually, it was last night about the top 10 presidents. And I wanted to hear why they picked these people. And they come up with reason after reason after reason, on these top 10. And it's nice too, beyond that top 10 and have people look back at you fondly, as opposed to look back to you and like, you're a big fuck up.
Mhm.
Justine Trudeau, as I like to call him, is going to go down as somebody who fucked Canada. That's his legacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you. Shifting the conversation, what advice would you give someone thinking or looking to start a podcast?
Well, I started in it actually by accident. But I'm going to tell you the advice I would give. Don't turn people down. I know there's a lot of podcasters out there.
Hmm.
Unless you're in a movie and they recognize your name, they don't want to have you on the show.
Hmm.
I've got the reputation where people come to me because they know I'm going to do the interview.
Yeah.
I had a guy named David Black, who's an Australian filmmaker, reach out to me asking if he could come on my show.
Interesting. Really?
I knew nothing about him. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't recognize a single film he'd done. He got turned down by other people because they didn't know who he was.
Hmm.
And that was not my thought because who the fuck am I? I'm amazed I'm able to do this, you
I
know?
I hear you. Believe me, I do.
Yeah. So if people are saying yes to me, who am I to say no?
Exactly.
So I reached out to this guy and we formed a time. I remember him saying to me, you probably won't get any more than half hour out of me. 2.5 hours later, 2.5
Hmm.
hours later,
Hmm.
he was like, wow, I can't believe we talked that long. How did I do it? Without knowing any of his films? I asked him questions.
Hmm.
Give me your background. How did you get into the business? Then I could come across the film, I'd mention it and I get him to tell me about it. And if I have any questions, I follow up. 2.5 hours based on
Hmm.
somebody I didn't know.
Hmm.
I've had a guy named Charles Rosney who wrote the book of Top 10 Horror. He was turned down by people. He reached out to me. Here's a benefit. Here's a benefit. He's been on my show 3 times. When I went to Chiller, he had a vendor there selling his books. So I was going to meet him. But not only that, guess who I shared a room with?
Hmm.
Yeah, we split a room.
Hmm.
Yeah. He says to me, he said, Greg, would you like to split a room at the hotel where the event's taking place? And I was there representing Lisa, and he was there representing, well, Tara Buckman. And he
Hmm.
put me in touch with Tara Buckman. So that would have never have happened had I said no. And I often tell people don't turn people down because turning people down too is like a self-esteem slap too. Don't do that to people. Don't tell people they're not worth your time.
Right, right.
You know,
Yeah.
I've been blessed to have some big names on here. I've had Ralph Bakshi on here twice. I've had Tony Basil on here. I had Tiffany on here. You know, I've done tributes to people like Alfred Hitchcock, Roddy Piper, Audrey Hepburn, Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Bruce
Dario
Almighty.
Argento?
D- Not yet. Although I was one of the last to interview Daria
Yeah.
Nicolodi.
Nickelodeon. Exactly. Yes.
I had her on the show.
Yeah.
I was one of the last to interview Dick Miller. Like, I feel blessed by that.
And
But,
that you should. And
but,
that you should.
and it's always great to have those. But you don't want to turn down other people either. You know what? Speaking of the hospital, I have one of my former coworkers there on the show. You know why? Because I discovered that she had a side hustle where she sold makeup and stuff like that for a company
Hmm.
called Pharmacy with
Okay.
an F. And she came on my show, and she's one of the ones that I've got good things to say about. But she came on my show on Zoom. You saw her before the interview, or at the start of the interview, and as we're talking, she was applying stuff and talking about what she was applying. And by the end of the interview, she looked like a whole different person. But here's the thing. She wasn't just talking about the product and promoting the product. She was showing that the fucking product worked. That was a mighty fun interview to do,
I can imagine.
you know? And she and I got along at the hospital. She's one of the good ones there.
Hmm.
I have my former supervisor from one of my cleaning jobs come on this podcast just because she asked me. And I spent a good 2 hours just bantering with her about shit that we saw or experienced at these buildings cleaning.
I can only imagine.
And I mean, some people would look at that and think, who would want to see that? And I say, I don't care. When I'm on my deathbed someday, this might be something fun to listen to, you know? So that's where I stand on that. I love having the bigger people on the show.
Okay.
But the same token, it's like Rodney Dangerfield said in Back to School. You might want to be
I
number
love
one,
that
but
film.
I love it too. I've interviewed a few people from it. Um, but Rodney said, uh, strive to be number one, but don't step on number two.
Yep. I remember
Well,
that.
there's some truth to that,
Yeah, there is. There's
you
plenty of
know?
truth to that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that's my advice to people is strive to get some bigger guests, but if somebody that you don't know reaches out, don't say I don't know who you are. Ask them questions. Have them
I think,
send have them send you information because you never know. You might be doing a con or something, and they
yeah,
might say,
yep.
"Hey, would you like to split a room?" You could have a really great acquaintance out of that.
I think that's a great answer. I think that's some amazing advice. I really do.
Yep.
That's terrific. Wasn't what I expected. I don't even know what I expected, but it wasn't that. But that's tremendous advice, I gotta say. Now, I want you to pick a topic. Religion, politics, or the Great Pumpkin, and talk about it for 60 seconds starting now.
I'll talk about religion because I come from the Christian faith. I believe Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. Boy, I think the Passion of the Christ was so powerful. I love it when I can watch a film like that and just get a religious experience out of it, but I can get a filmmaking experience. But I don't go around preaching to people. I don't go to church, part of it because I'm mostly sleeping. But I find the Bible has got so many cool stories in it. And there's a lot of times with me when, especially if I'm feeling down in myself, it's like, I screwed up so much. Why would he want to save me? One of my favorite Bible stories is King David. King David, you want to talk about somebody that had an entire kingdom and totally screwed up. This is a guy that took down Goliath with a slingshot and a stone.
42 seconds left.
Yeah. Then by his downfall was Bathsheba. He saw Bathsheba built bathing. And there are times when I'm down, I'll read the story, how he tried to cover that up after he had the affair, had her husband lead out in battle and was killed, and then his child died and all this. The ending of this, though, really grabbed me. He gets himself out of bed, cleans himself up, combs his hair, and he eats. And his subjects question him about it. Why? And he said, you know what? It's done. It can't be changed. He said, what's done is done. I can just continue on, so to speak. I'm paraphrasing here. Um, so again, I don't want to be preachy, but that's what I believe in. And I love seeing movies where it's taken seriously and not just fireproof and unplanned and shit like that, you know? That could be done with $5. But yeah,
Time's up.
yeah. That was the best I could do with that answer.
If if I came to your place for dinner, what would you prepare for me?
What are you looking away for, Skittles? Skittles is like, don't you dare give my treats away, because that's all you fucking got here is treats. Creepy Ghoul might want some treats. You're in bad luck if you come here for dinner. I don't even have a dinner table. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
it's what I suspected. My suspicions were correct.
I stick stuff in the frying pan or my microwave and I set it right here and I eat it while I'm watching something. I don't even have a dinner table. Uh, yeah, I am not a cook. I got an oven or a stove here. I've used the top of it, but I've never put anything in it since I've got here in 2020. You know,
Oh
you
man.
Skittles.
That was the answer that I expected. I
Just
gotta
a
tell you
minute.
right now.
Skittles, you get over here.
That's
Skittles.
exactly what I expected.
Oh, Skittles.
Look at that little baby cat.
Skittles, my buddy. Yeah, you my buddy. You my buddy. Yes, you are. You my buddy. Yes, you my buddy. He said, don't you give anybody my treats. He said, Creepy Gold might want some treats. He might want some treats. Yes. Yes,
So,
you.
so speaking of treats, any birthday plans?
Yeah, sleep.
Yeah, yeah.
No, not really. Um, no, I have no idea. I maybe I might watch Easy A with Emma Stone.
Oh, Easy A. Yeah, I've got that on DVD over there. Yeah,
I
yeah,
could watch her read the phone book. I like
yeah,
Emma Stone.
yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would go
Well,
meet her. I'd go meet her at a con if she did one, I'll tell you that.
yeah, she's a cutie pie for sure.
Yeah, but you
So,
know what? Even watching her being interviewed, she's entertaining. You know, it's one thing for somebody to be good looking. It's another thing for somebody to be good looking and interesting.
yeah.
Recently in wrestling, I've been kind of interested in Liv Morgan, and
Okay, okay.
she is really hot. But for fuck's sake, I discovered her YouTube channel, and like she's lives on a farm, and just watching her do stuff there, she's really funny and very engaging. And I was like, I just sat there and watched a bunch of her videos because she's freaking hilarious. And that goes a long way with me, you know. It's one thing for somebody to look hot. Great, just look at pictures of them. Emma Stone makes me want to go to the movies and see her. I don't care what the movie's about, and she has done some duds. Aloha comes to mind, but more often than not, even if the movie's not good, she's going to be great in it.
Yeah.
I love watching her. When I was in Toronto, I had to see Poor Things in Toronto because we didn't get it,
Mm.
but I
Mm.
saw it when it was in Toronto, and I was like, just love seeing Emma Stone. Now she's doing a lot of nudity now, but it's kind of like she's on a she was never the person I ever thought would do nudity, but it's kind of like, it's almost like an easy A where you see her walking down the corridor with the A
Mm.
on
Mm.
her front, more or less with a fuck you attitude at her peers that look down on her.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's where I look at the nude scenes. It's like, you know what? I'm not a pinup Playboy model, but Greg Gilbert's gonna like me. And I do.
Which brings me to my next question.
Uh-huh.
Do you read? Do you attend school? Do you watch porn?
I haven't,
Answer!
I haven't been in school since what, 1990? I took some film courses at university, mind you. I did do that. I do read, not as much as I would like. Porn, mostly the adult films I watch are like Fritz the Cat or something John Waters related. Yeah, Fritz the Cat is Skittles' favorite movie. That and Cat People.
Okay. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
I
Now,
don't really watch porn, but I love movies like Boogie Nights that really show the
oh, that's a great film.
humanity that yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah, that is.
The humane side of people in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. I get different things out of different movies. That's why I'm a Christian, but yeah, I can watch a movie like Boogie Nights and come away with learning something from it. Whereas I go into something like Fireproof and I'm like, well, I learned what cuckolding was unintentionally from Fireproof.
I'm just making some notes here. I've been making notes throughout our entire conversation here. Now, what do you think about when you are alone in your car? Answer me!
Emma Stone.
Okay.
Actually,
Really?
in all truthfulness, lately I've been thinking about the people I'm going to meet at Fan Expo. I'm gonna,
Okay.
yeah, because I got my tier list of people, and
Mm-hmm.
I keep them high in mind, and I think about expenses and all that stuff, and I try not to
Mm-hmm.
stress out a bunch of times with that.
You can't. You just can't.
Yeah, but
I
I
remember
think
the days of going to conventions, Fan Expo in particular. I was that guy. What Fan Expo used to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's how it used to be. I was there an hour before Fan Expo opened, waiting at. I was one of the first people at the elevator to go upstairs. I was that guy. I went Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I went all 3 days for years. Okay, that's the thing, and I'm telling you, holy crap, man! I remember the days. The most I've ever spent at Fan Expo, and this may not seem as much now, but this was probably back in the 90s or the early 2000s. I remember I spent $700 in one weekend there. Holy crap, just on like stuff, collectibles and shit and whatever. Holy crap, those were the days. I
mhm.
went to Fan Expo for years religiously, and I stopped. I stopped going. The horror section in Fan Expo, the horror vendors just kind of slowly diminished away to like
I'm
nothing type
noticing
of thing.
that.
Then all of a sudden, yeah. Yeah, and I was at Fan Expo the year all hell broke loose with the whole fire code bullshit. It got so packed in Fan Expo, the Metro Toronto
Hmm.
Convention Center. It got so packed. We went outside to get lunch. It took us hours to even get back in. It was so bad. And after that, that was the year after that. That was the year that they made Fan Expo 4 days instead of three because of that incident there. I was there. I was caught in that madness. It was insane. I'll never forget it. And but you know what? The Horrorama came around, and truthfully, I stopped going to all conventions except Horrorama because that was my thing, right?
Hmm.
Fan Expo started becoming very anime, very video game-ish, and which are things I'm not really into. Like, I mean, I like old
I'm
school
not
video
either.
games. I love Atari and stuff like that. But Horrorama was more my thing. But anyhow, um, yeah, getting back into it. Um, where am I here? Shit. Like I can't even see through all these sunglasses here that I keep interchanging. Um, so 5 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 minutes to rant about anything, starting now.
Rant about anything. Shit.
It's 9:55. I'm going to stop you at 10.
Are
Go.
you kidding me?
You could rant about anything you want. 5 minutes. Let's hear it.
Oh, jeepers, there's a variety of things I could rant about.
Here's your chance to get everything out. What do you want people to hear? What do you want people to know? What's your advice? What's your opinions? What are your
You,
thoughts?
you know what my thoughts are is that I did my taxes back in April and get charged $2,800. I've now got that down to 2K. But it's like, for fuck's sake, we got a
That
prime minister that evades taxes.
that's insane.
Yep.
In the same breath, that's impressive what you did. But go on.
But here's the thing. When the pandemic happened, it was all about doctors and nurses.
Yep.
Doctors and nurses, doctors and nurses. Important, yes.
Hmm.
Where were people arguing for the pay raise of the janitorial folks? Nobody. You know why? And this goes back to being bullied growing up.
Hmm.
We're deemed unintelligent, uneducated. We're looked at as stupid. Oh, you clean toilets for a living. You mop floors. You sweep floors. You dust. You're a
Yeah.
nobody.
Yeah. Which
This is
which is
why I like
bullshit.
move. This is why I like movies like The Toxic Avenger or Willy's Wonderland. Where the person cleaning up really cleans up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
got the
hear you.
society of people that are entitled. You think I want to clean for a living? Not really, but I'm not skilled at anything else, really. I'm barely skilled at that. But, you know, uh, I'm willing to show up to work and I do my stuff and they rely on me when they call me. But it upsets me that I'm making like minimum wage and people making all this hype during the pandemic about doctors and nurses. And I'm like, yeah, well, what about us? What
Hmm.
the fuck about us,
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you a little story. And I went on a rant and I went off on Trudeau on this too. And I went off on our city police here. I got out of a movie and put my phone on a flight, and there was a voice message from my supervisor
Hmm.
asking me to call her. So I was on my way to my first location to clean. I called her and she says, Greg, when you get to uh, the Canada Post location, see if there's a white box there
Hmm.
when you get there. She said, sometime that afternoon, Canada Post called the cops to deal with a bloody meth needle out in the yard, out
Hmm.
in the sidewalk.
Hmm.
And they called the cops. Nothing. Said they would have somebody on it. Nothing. My supervisor and I conversed at about 5 o'clock. She put a white box over top of the bloody needle. And it
Hmm.
said, "Don't touch, toxic."
Uh-huh.
And she told me that she called the police.
Sounds like a scene out of Return of the Living Dead, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, she called the police. And she said she wants me to call her when I get there to see if that box is still there. So I
Uh-huh.
arrived, and sure enough, it was still there. I lifted the box up. Sure enough, needle, blood inside it, blood all around it. I put the,
Disgusting.
yep.
Fucking
So,
disgusting.
so I called her, and she was disgusted. So I did a video showcasing this. This was before I went in to do my clean. I called city police. And they said, yeah, we're going to get somebody right on it. We heard we'll have somebody there immediately. So I went in, did my clean. 3 hours later, I come out to go to my car to leave, to go to my main building. I went and checked. That fucking box still there. I lifted it up, the needle's still there. I got my phone out and I ranted. I said, "This is part of that fucking catch and release bullshit. Our fucking loser of a government has implicated. You know, I said, and then I said, basically, I said, fuck you, Trudeau. I said, fuck you, city police. I said, you were called fucking 3 times. Now I have to do something that I'm not supposed to be doing. I have to dispatch this." So I had to double glove up and I had to take care of that needle.
Hmm.
Yep. Now I guarantee you, if I don't know, I wouldn't do this, but if I ripped up a pride flag, they'd be down there right away, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wouldn't rip up a pride flag, but you get my point. But
I'll
this
tell
right
you,
here,
yeah.
here's the thing. What if somebody's kid found that needle?
Well, yeah, that's just it. I'll tell you something, you're a better person than I am because I'm scared shitless of needles. I
You
am.
want me to
Go
tell
to the
you a little
doctor.
something? You
Yeah.
want me to tell you a little something?
Hmm.
I was petrified of needles growing up. I had a phobia of them.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you what happens when you reach 53?
Hmm.
It's gotten to the point now. Last time I had blood drawn,
Hmm.
it's kind of like, yep, yep, make the fist. They insert it,
Hmm.
yep, and then it's out. They put the gauze on, tape it on. I'm amazed that it doesn't. I don't like it, but at the same token, it doesn't bother me the way it did when I was young. You know, because I remember when I had my rupture operation, I had to have an IV in, and I don't
Hmm.
know. I had to, of course, during the pandemic, we had to have our shots and all that fucking
Yeah.
shit. And of
Yeah.
course, that was in the shoulder. I never bothered me getting it in the shoulder. I never liked getting it here, but it's gotten to the point with me
Yeah.
now where it's kind of like I just I just lay down there and they do it, and if I'm lucky, I'll get a nice free thing of orange juice, you know. Um, but yeah, but I shouldn't have had to handle that needle. And
No.
it's like the government is right now giving more uh, freedom to criminals than it is to actual tax-paying people. And this is where I'm ranting. This is where I have a problem. And I'm
Hmm.
getting really tired of being criticized because I voted for Polyev. Polyev, one of the things, whether he comes through with it or not, I don't know. I'd like to hope he would, because I liked his policies. Because I'll tell you one thing, I don't think the elbows up crowd is getting what they asked for, whether they want to convince themselves of it or not. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Elbows
well,
up, the American dream, Dusty Rhodes. That's the only
well,
image of elbows up I want to see.
well, your time was up 4 minutes ago, but I decided to give you the 4 minutes as an early birthday present.
Yeah,
So, my final question to you, my friend,
yeah.
is on a scale of 1 to 10, rate me as an interviewer.
You're a 10, man.
You're kidding.
You want me to tell you something? I'm going to tell you something, Ferris. And this goes back to what I was saying about giving everybody a chance to be interviewed. You know, it's kind of weird whenever I did Horrorama in 2017. I went online to see if any of the videos around, whether I'd see me. It's such a narcissistic thing to say. Gee, I wonder if I'm in any of these videos. And then I spotted me in your 2018. I heard the sound. We have a VIP, VIP. You can just see me going down the stairs just briefly. And especially during the pandemic, I was able to go through and I was just listening to your walk around, even the ones where I wasn't present for it, like 14, 15, and 16. And I would just listen to you do your walk arounds. And I actually still listen to those. But here's the thing, you were able to allow me to stay in touch with Toronto while I was at work, because I was able to have that right in here. I was able to have that, you know. Even listen to the Smiths, Big Mouth Strikes Again in the background of the 2017 ones,
Mhm.
and it's like nice, and all of that. And so I remember that was when I thought I should see if Creepy Ghoul come on the show. And I'm really glad I reached out because we've become friends. We've since met,
Mhm.
you know. And I think you got a lot of cooler stuff in Toronto than you do here. I am worried. I'm worried what again, I didn't experience this in Toronto last time I was there, and I'm hoping I don't have to experience because I'm not one to put up with bullshit.
Mhm.
Don't block a street off while I'm going down it. Fuck off, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Don't do that. And if you're a cop, don't tell me to go around. If you're going to uphold the law, tell these assholes to get inside to do their prayers. You
Yeah.
don't see me out in the middle of a fucking street praying.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Shit, I'd be worried I get hit.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
getting tired of some of the stuff I've been seeing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm hoping I don't see it going to Toronto. I don't know. So far, I've
I
avoided
hope
it.
you don't see it either.
But I'll tell you, I'm a no bullshit person when it comes to that. You know, um, somebody threatens me, chances are I'm not going to move. And when somebody will say, "Well, what if they have a knife?" Well, if they have a knife, and it tells me how fucking scared they are that they
Good
would
point.
need that they would need a knife. I'm getting tired of hearing stories about people robbing people's houses and stuff like that for their
Oh,
vehicle.
jeez. Yeah,
Somebody in
that's
the Liberal Party said, leave your car keys out so the criminal. No, I have the same attitude as John Goodman in The Big Lebowski. What's mine is mine. You want my stuff, you kill me to
yeah.
get it. But if you don't kill me, you're going to the hospital with two fucking broken
Mhm.
legs.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know the Liberal Party they'll defend the criminal and let him off, and they'll convict me. Sorry, if I sometimes I think Charles Bronson had it right in Death Wish.
Oh yeah, I love that film. Death Wish.
Yeah, he wasn't as
Death
hot as Miss
Wish.
45, mind you, but
No, no, not at all. Death
but
Wish 1, 2, even 3 was okay.
but I'm
Yeah.
just tired of this whole notion of you got to lay back and take it. You know how many times in school I would get the shit beat out of me, and then I would have a teacher that didn't want to do anything about it, couldn't be bothered, say, Stay away from that area. Well,
Yeah.
the fucking people are following me. You know how many
Yeah.
times I've had bullies follow me?
Yeah.
Like you can't avoid it. So I'm to that point now where I'm being asked by these fucking greedy fucking politicians to ignore it. I'm like, no,
Mm.
I'm not ignoring it. These are my
Mm.
fucking rights.
Mm.
These are my fucking rights. Somebody breaks into my apartment, unless they kill me, I'm going to break their fucking legs.
Yeah. No,
And
no,
no, and no cop is going to arrest me. I don't give a fucking sweet shit. I say you're not letting fucking criminals out. I'm getting tired of this catch and release bullshit. It's caused more headaches and heartbreak for people than anybody knows.
yeah,
You
no,
know,
I hear you. I live in the good part of Scarborough, even though I call it deepest, darkest Scarborough. But even though that may be a fact, I still sleep with a steel pipe by my bedside, and on it it says, "This is
dildo.
gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt." ECW steel pipe. Oh yeah. Anybody tries to get in here, I'm telling you right
I had a
now.
woman at the gas station this past week. She was so frustrated. She was working behind the counter and she says her car's been keyed twice in the last 2 weeks.
Mm,
And it was these fucking meth addicts that she kicked out of
yeah,
there. And
yeah,
they keyed her car once. She got it taken care of, and then they keyed her car again. She told the cops about it. They said the best they could do is lay charges if they could see on camera the identities.
right.
She asked me what she should do. And I said, I'll tell you what I would do, but it might cost you to lose your job.
Yeah.
But here's what I would do. I would get an aluminum baseball bat and a tire iron or a crowbar, any of those nice instruments. I'd wait somewhere where I'm not seen, where I could see my car, and I would wait for them to come into view. And I would go first blow
Hmm.
right to their fucking head, and the
Yeah.
next blow would be to their fucking knees.
The Warriors.
Yep. And I know that sounds very nasty for a Christian to say, but it's like, you know what? I've watched the fucking government in the last 10 years, Trudeau, do the same fucking bullshit, letting people off. Why do you think there was a possible terrorist attack if the police hadn't found out 2 people in Toronto?
Yep.
I'm getting tired of that. I'm telling you right now, I'm not aiming to break the law, but the cops aren't going to do their job. Okay, I'll take care of the problem. Somebody keys my car, I'm going to break their fucking face and break their fucking legs. And then
Yeah,
they can go to that,
sometimes.
and they can go to that shitty hospital I was fired from, and they can watch as the useless fucking hooker-clad nurses there wrap themselves in those hot blankets that are intended for the patients, but they wrap themselves up while they play on their phones. Fucking cocksucking
They
place.
play other phones.
Yeah, I saw
Well,
this constantly.
well, there you have it, folks. This concludes the collaboration interview with Creepy Ghoul Vision and the Python's Paradise. Hope you enjoyed this show, as it was very informative. You found out a lot about Greg Gilbert, the Python Hyena, as did I, as did the Creepy Ghoul Vision viewers. There you have it, folks. There you go. I want to wish you a very extremely happy early birthday. And of course, I'm going to contact you on Tuesday, wishing you a happy birthday. And of course, I'm going to contact you Wednesday to wish you a very happy belated birthday. And there you have it.
Well,
There you have it.
here's here's what I say. I say I booked my hotels for Fan Expo, but I'm like, if you weren't going camping and trying to find the kite eating tree, I could have stayed at your place.
Oh man, yeah, no, I know. I'm working.
Of
I'm
course,
working.
I'm worried that you put me in your My Little Pony room.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm gone camping again in August.
Oh, you
For
enjoy, you enjoy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm off. I think 10 days in a row or something like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that again. Five of which are vacation days. But anyhow, yeah, it's great stuff. It's great stuff. I'm coming out of my shell. I'm doing things I wouldn't normally be doing. And yeah, that's just how it is. But yeah, I hope to meet up with you during your stay here in Toronto in August for Fan Expo. Seriously, I'm not far from the Metro Toronto Convention Center.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm not. And plus, I work. I work. I'm even closer to the Metro Toronto Convention Center from work. Holy fuck. I work pretty much almost right downtown. You know what I mean? So yeah, we
Yeah.
got to get together and like have some wings or something like that. Holy crap.
Yeah. Then I could do a video and say, folks, see these wings? Yeah. Two hands, just like the creepy ghoul.
I'm a one-handed wing eater. Yeah, that would be great, eh? Let's do a video together this August. That would be great. Hey,
Oh,
a
I think it
live
would be
video.
fantastic.
That would be great. Yeah. But let's figure it out. Let me know your plans and your itinerary, your schedule, and we'll hook up and stuff like that. Most definitely.
Hmm.
But speaking of which, most definitely created by you and me going down in YouTube history is Creepy Ghoul Vision via Greg Gilbert's Python Paradise. Check it out, please. I beg. There you have it, folks. This is your birthday interview. Um, and I really enjoyed doing it. You know what I mean? It was very informative, and
It
and
was a
uh,
lot of
and uh,
fun.
and I thank you for your time. I really do. On a Saturday night, I really do. It was really
Absolutely.
cool. It was my pleasure to do this interview with you. It really was.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any last sentiments before we close off?
No, I've said what I had to say. Any last words for yourself?
Nope. I'm going to turn 53. I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to Toronto.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I
I'm
hope to
hoping.
meet up with, huh?
No, like I said, I'm hoping to hook up with you. We'll head down to Vinegar Syndrome, Toronto,
Hmm.
because you've never been there, and I'm actually due for a visit there. Actually, we'll head down to Vinegar Syndrome and whatever. Yeah, it'll be great.
I'm hoping Lisa's around, but I don't know what's going on with her. Erin Noble, who was in class of 1984, she's open for a meetup. She was the girl that
Yeah,
played the clarinet.
yeah,
Yeah, she was on my show once, actually on my birthday in 2017, and I met her in Toronto. Um, she's open to meeting up with me. We've met her up, but we met up with her before. She
yeah,
told me to give her boyfriend, Michael J. Fox, her best at Fan Expo.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I will see what's happening. But yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. You let me know, and yeah, we'll make the arrangements and shit. But yeah, this is a great interview, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, there we go, folks. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to Creepy Ghoul Vision and Python's Paradise. Give us a couple thumbs up, will you? And most importantly, stay weird.
Absolutely. This is the Python along with the creepy ghoul signing out. God bless. And yeah, check out Creepy Ghoul Vision and Python's Paradise. Take care.